I'm Brett Kebner, and along with Kelly O'Neill, we'll be presenting one of the first of these new camel-blooded monster national championship series events here today. And indeed, this should be a killer, Kelly.
That's right, Brett. We're looking forward to some really exciting action tonight. The fans are really excited, and we're ready for things to get underway.
Well, that's for sure, Kelly. We've got an incredible lineup of mud racing and monster truck superstars here for one of the very first of the new Camel Mud Racing and Monster Truck Series events that culminates in a $100,000 points fund at the end of the 1990 season. Well, here's a guy who will definitely be trying to put on a show in front of the hometown fans, Kelly. Jeff Baintner out of Yakima, Washington. We've seen him a bunch of times on ESPN's coverage of USHRA Association camel events, and he is definitely notorious for his craziness.
Yeah, Jeff is in the high-voltage Jeep, and this ought to be really exciting. He gets a little crazy.
He debuted this car at a particular event of the USHRA Association Tour in 1989 in Oklahoma City. As a matter of fact, in that debut, it won. Look at this thing leave the starting line, actually carrying the wheels. Tremendous air for Baintner, and what a landing, as the crowd loves every minute of that one. An excellent, excellent pass. In fact, a lot quicker than I think, Kelly, people thought he was going to go. You can see the machine actually pick the front wheels up on the starting line launch, and when he hits the first set of cars, tremendous amount of air. And as always, that short wheelbase Jeep comes down a little sideways, and those tires just send it back up over and over on every attempt at landing. What a ride. The elapsed time, 3.76 seconds.
Okay, online now we have the #1 qualifier, Jeff Baintner, in high voltage against Bigfoot, one of everyone's favorites.
Like we said, this was a good news, bad news situation for that man right there, Jeff Baintner. He qualifies #1 in front of his hometown audience, and now he has to race Bigfoot in the very first round. If he could pull off a defeat of the Big Blue Ford, it would be the biggest single moment of his life. He's already had so many incredible situations on our ESPN coverage of these events that he's already becoming almost a household name, despite his lack of very many national event wins, to be honest. In the meantime, the Bigfoot team is ready for blood on this one. Checking each driver, they're ready. They leave the line. Bigfoot with an early lead. Look at Baintner. Unbelievable. Look at this driving job. Absolutely incredible. Stopping within inches of the wall. The crowd can't believe it, and rightfully so. He actually pulled it off, Kelly. He beats Bigfoot in the opening round.
Brett, Jeff has to be ecstatic about that.
Who couldn't be? When you can drive around Bigfoot on the slow-motion replay, you can see that Bigfoot left the starting line first with an honest 5-foot advantage going into the on-ramp. Here you see Bigfoot take it to the air. Baintner on the other side was even higher, but indeed took one of the rougher landings ever. As you can see, Gene Patterson actually had a beautiful, beautiful run here. A little bit of a bounce there at the finish line, though, putting him on his side, but I think he was steering away from Jeff Baintner more than anything else.
And he left time on that of 4.50 seconds. That was an excellent run for Bigfoot, but Jeff Baintner was taking the ride of his life in the other lane.
Look at this thing leave the starting line. Wheels up like a dragster leaving the line. Now, when he hits the ramp, watch this thing take to the air. You want altitude? Take a look at this. Flash bulbs go off around the kingdom. Now watch this landing. Every bit of weight of this vehicle on the right front tire. Baintner almost noses the thing over. He actually pulled the right rear tire completely off the rim. Same thing with the left side on the second bounce. Still up on one tire as he tries to get to the brakes. Like I said, the brakes don't do you any good when the machine's in the air. He stops it within inches of the wall. How close was it?
Seconds, but it was good enough to beat Monster Mash.
You're looking at one of the more unusual innovations in this sport. Neon tubes that carry the electrical charge to the spark plugs in Randy Lynn's hot-tempered Jeep, Kelly.
Running alongside Randy is Todd Blazer in his hot stuff Jeep.
Remember, we talked about Todd being a rookie. This is, believe it or not, both these drivers' first season of racing. And very seldomly, you see side-by-side Jeep. Blazer leaves the starting line and starts train lengthening the Aberdeen, Washington lady. If nothing else, she manages to keep it under control, trying to drive around Todd in the shutdown area, but at that point, the Wisconsin youngster had it under control.
Really was no contest there.
He is not afraid to put this thing into orbit if he has to get around the opponent.
Looks like we'll be seeing some great action in this one.
Saw him during qualifying put this thing literally 10 feet in the air. The Skull Bandit in the far lane moves it up. The Tars entry out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada, ready for the drop of the flag. Sarton gets the advantage and starts driving away from there. Landing almost on the landing ramp itself. Sarton manages to keep it under control, manhandling the truck after only one hard bounce. Take a look at this. This machine definitely flew over those cars. At that point, the Tars machine was nowhere in sight. Look at this launch. The landing coming down 2 cars from the end. He actually hits it right on the crown of the landing ramp. A huge power stand as he gets back into the throttle, but after only one bounce, Kelly, he settles that thing down.
That's right, Brett. He had an incredible run of 4.53 seconds.
And it's certainly one of the quickest of eliminations so far. You really can't fault Kirk Frankish in the other lane. Again, using the conservatism that we talked about at the very beginning of the event, hoping that Sarton would make an error of some kind. He did not. He also had a pretty rough ride down there at the finish line. He did a beautiful job of regaining control of this thing.
We've got the Skull Bandit online, and Barefoot. Should be a good race.
Yeah, I really don't think there's any partiality with the crowd at all either. I think they're about 50% rooting for one, 50% for the other. Side by side on the cars, absolutely perfect race. And Kelly, I don't think anybody could call that one. Our event director on the floor, George Carpenter, is probably watching the slow motion replay himself. Here we see they leave the starting line dead even. Barefoot pulls up on the ramp, then Sarton drives around in the air. Here comes Davis in Barefoot as Sarton wheel stands again. They are absolutely side by side. Our event director, George Carpenter from the U.S. Hobbit Association, will have to make the decision based on a videotape replay. That's the official way it goes, Kelly. At U.S. Hobbit Association Racing, if it's too close to call visually, they use a videotape camera mounted directly at the finish line to call the winner. We'll just have to wait for the word.
We've been watching the slow motion replay. I cannot tell who won that race. Brett, this is a real tribute to the sportsmanship of these drivers to go back and run this race again.
The flag drops again, side by side. Sarton, though, drives away for a full truck-length victory at the finish line. What a top-end charge Gary Sarton has in that machine. The crowd obviously going crazy, and Sarton himself says, hey, what did you expect? The Skull Bandit team picks up the victory here at the Seattle Kingdom as the crowd gives both drivers literally a standing ovation. The helmet comes off. What a battle.
Gary Sarton was able to pull it off. That was incredible action like we've never seen before.
Never seen before. We've never had a dead heat like that in monster truck racing. Despite how incredible this particular event was, we'll be back in just a minute to take a look at how the points race is shaping up for that $100,000 bounty at the end of the 1990 season for the Camel, Mud, and Monster Series.
With me is Gary Sarton. Gary is the driver of the Skull Bandit, and it was some exciting action tonight, Gary. In the first heat, you had a absolute photo finish. No one could tell who was the winner. So you decided to run the race again. Explain to me, why did you do that?
Well, we wanted to, the crowd couldn't tell, and we didn't want to leave them hanging with just a tie. And me and the driver of Barefoot, we'd feel better if we knew who won too. So we ran it again, and I come out on top.
Well, thank you, Kelly. After the first 6 weeks of the brand new U.S. Hobbit Association Camel Mud Racing and Monster Truck National Championship Series, the point standings for that $100,000 chase are already up for grabs. Take a look at the monster truck standings, and you'll see Bob Chandler's Bigfoot team with 398 points. In the number 2 spot is Chuck Hawkins, the guy they call Psycho, right behind him at 391, with Rob Fuchs, the 1989 Rookie of the Year and the First Blood Ford, in third at 382 points. With over $100,000 up for grabs, this season is not going to get any easier for any of these competitors, and indeed this battle should turn into all-out war before the end of the season, Kelly.
I look forward to a really good year.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the continuation of the 1990 United States Hobbit Association Camel, Mud Racing, and Monster Truck National Championship Series. I'm Brett Kepner, and along with 25-year motorsports broadcasting veteran Jerry Devine, we'll be covering the action this time around from Anaheim Stadium in Anaheim, California, where the biggest and best of the U.S. Hobbit Association World Championship Tour have amassed for this incredible event. And Jerry, as far as monster truck racing goes, we've got one of the best fields ever.
Oh, you better believe it. Thousands of people are pouring into Anaheim Stadium, and it's under beautiful weather. It's going to be great weather for the best of competition, and in monster trucks, we've got them for you this afternoon. Bigfoot, of course, will be here, and he'll be taking on all of the challengers like Taurus and Barefoot. They're all here, and they're all going after the big money and the Camel Monster Series points.
Well, that's for sure.
But, before we can race these monster trucks, we've got to make it fair for everybody, and so what we're going to do is crush some of these cars down with kind of an unusual piece of equipment.
Well, this is one of the first times we've ever done this at a U.S. Hobbit Association event. What exactly is the objective here?
Well, the object, of course, is to make sure that the track surface, the racing surface, which includes the cars, is level and equal for all. This is Alan Gaines of Georgetown, Kentucky, and this is called the Orange Blossom Express.
Seems like the fans are definitely into that machine, but we're ready to go into monster truck qualifying, racing against the clock for final starting positions here at the Anaheim Stadium.
It's going to be Barefoot, driven by Fred Schaefer of Pontoon, Illinois.
He'll be up against Larry Turner, the Ohio driver of the Hercules Ford Ranger. And certainly a Ford versus Chevy battle like this is a great way to start. But everybody loves barefoot, Jerry.
They sure do. And it's going to be a great one. Let's watch them now as both drivers get all ready to go, waiting for the flagman to raise that green flag.
It's an interesting course. They'll be driving in opposite directions, then crossing a set of cars to determine a winner. Unbelievable hit by Schaefer.
Look at the height of some of these machines. All right, Turner gets over real good. Barefoot, but Schaefer heads for the last set of cars. Up, and over.
He'll easily win that much up. Here comes Larry Turner, about 6 or 7 truck lengths behind. The elapsed time for Freddie Schaefer has got to put him in a real good position. Look at the trucks we're up against here. 14.23 seconds for Barefoot. He's still got to try and stay out in front of Bigfoot, Taurus, all the killers. 17.14 seconds for Larry Turner. Don't think he'll be overly thrilled with that, Jim.
No. It's going to be the Predator, driven by Alan Pizzo.
Tell you what, for a youngster out of Michigan, he is tough. And he'll be up against longtime California competitor Tom Feeney. The Iron Butterfly Ford van weighs an honest 24,000 pounds. The heaviest machine here.
Definitely is heavy. All right, here we go.
Looks like Hazo may have had some problems getting off the starting line. That supercharged Chevrolet is normally a lot quicker than that. And that means Feeney is going to make a race out of this.
Well, it's anybody's race right now. They're headed both for the final set of cars. Oh, and it looks like the Iron Butterfly has some problems.
Is that incredible? Problems for Pezo, and at 18.71 seconds as the engine apparently got wounded. Look at this finish. The Iron Butterfly breaks. Pezo gets the win by no less than 4 feet. Unbelievable.
Well, the Iron Butterfly stalls right on that second set of cars, but the clock's still running.
Pezo's trying to control the incredible Chevrolet, but here's the killer, Jerry.
Oh, it sure is. It's Bigfoot, driven by Andy Brass, and this is the new Bigfoot Racer.
It's the first time out for the blue Ford Racer. Jack Wilman and Taurus, one of the toughest new trucks of the 1990 season, leaves the line.
Taurus had some problems a little earlier in qualifying. He lost the front end.
I'll tell you, he's giving Andy Brass a run for his money. The new lightweight Ford trying to beat 13.14 seconds. That'd give him the #1 spot.
Oh, and look at Jack Woolman!
Unbelievable! 13.06 seconds for Taurus. Look at the launch of the last set of cars by Andy Brass. He runs 13.31. That puts Taurus, the Chevrolet, in the #1 spot.
All right, here comes the AM/PM Boss, driven by Meredith Dalton.
Right, Seth Dalton himself, one of the West Coast's best. He'll be up against Steve Helms, the Skull Crusher, a brand new Ford product out for its first weekend of racing.
Well, this young lady, she's not afraid of these monster trucks. She knows how to drive them. Let's watch her now. Waiting for the green flag. Here we go.
Beautiful lead by the lady of the AM/PM Boss. The Skull Crusher coming down hard as well. This is going to be a race.
It's not over yet. We've got about a half a track yet to go. Let's watch her down the last set of cars.
Tell you what, she was right there with the new Crusher. Tremendous job by the AM/PM Boss, sponsored by the AM/PM mini stores out in the West Seaboard. Here's the last jump for the Crusher in 15.21 seconds. That'll put him right squarely in the middle of the field for Helms.
And Meredith Dalton with an 18.05 on the AM/PM Boss.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that may be 5 or 6 seconds slower than some of the other trucks, but that'll be right in the middle of this field.
It sure will. All right, here comes the AM/PM Rocket now with Dale Buscemi.
Tell you, this kid is young and he is good. Look at the air. He gets wild landing.
He hangs on to it, keeps it under control, heads down for the next set of cars, comes around that curve, up, and over.
Man, another wild landing. That guy is not afraid to mess with the throttle. He has definitely shown that he has got the guts to be one of the best in this business. 14.58 seconds. Look at this landing. Tell you what, applying the throttle with the front end of the air takes guts. Simple as that.
All right, coming up next, it's going to be the Skull Crusher, and he'll be going against the Iron Butterfly.
I'll tell you what, the Iron Butterfly machine of Tom Feeney has actually been fairly impressive here. He qualified the #11 spot. Steve Helms leaves the line first, though. Helms of the Skull Crusher did a heck of a job in qualifying, does a good job on that jump.
The Butterfly is just so heavy.
I'll tell you what, this guy's really making this a race.
Look at this. Look at this. Hold it. Hold it. He might do it.
That is by far one of the closest possible races. Listen to the crowd. The 22,000-pound man makes it literally a matter of inches at the finish line. Look at this battle. And the Skull Crusher wins it 18.41 seconds, a losing 18.61 seconds for the van.
All right, coming up next, it's going to be the Predator, driven by Alan Pazo.
We saw that Michigan driver have a lot of engine problems when he was racing and qualifying, but this is one guy that could win it all.
You better believe it. Fred Schaefer from Pontiac, Illinois, in barefoot.
A lot of people say Freddie Schaefer builds the toughest motors in the sport. Look at the jump! Unbelievable air. Alan Pazo doing everything he can, but he's not going to be able to make this up.
Oh, hang on, here we go.
I'll tell you what, Pazo with the engine problems again actually made a battle out of that. But Freddie Schaefer may be close to beating the 12.59 second run we just saw by Bigfoot. The supercharged Chevrolet out of Illinois. Freddie Schaefer always means business. Watch this jump. Unbelievable, perfect form. Watch the landing, watch the front tires compress, and a huge bounce. But in this round, we also have that classic rivalry.
That's right, Ford against Chevrolet. All right, Dale Boucher, AMPM Rocket, here we go!
It looked like we had some problems in the other lane. Unbelievable landing in the meantime for Boucher. Now Helms has the Crusher going, and this one's a free ride.
All right, Boucher coming on, and he's going to ease it over for the win.
That's the second time now that Dale Boucher has been able to get out of the throttle. His starting line reactions are unbelievable, but also with Helms having problems, he didn't have to worry too much. Look at the landing on this hit. His lap time of 15.47 seconds for the run. Watch this.
That could have cost him there, but good job of driving, and he hangs on to it. Oh, here comes Bigfoot, Andy Brass.
And this is the battle we've been waiting for. Bigfoot versus Barefoot.
Ford against Chevrolet.
You're looking at one of the lightest, best prepared Fords in history against one of the drivers who will not say die. Freddie Schaefer will do anything to beat Bigfoot. There is no love lost between these two teams, Jerry.
The crowd coming to their feet on this one. They know this is going to be one of the best races of the afternoon.
The second round of Monster Truck Racing. Winners go into the semifinal round.
Here we go. Fred Schaefer up, and over.
Look at Bigfoot, the same stance. Now it's a battle over the finish line.
This is going to be close.
Bigfoot takes it. Freddie Schaefer has problems around the laster. Listen to the crowd.
Andy Brass put it down and flew over that last set of cars. Look at this.
This new fully suspended truck has one of the trickiest suspensions in the business. The elapsed time, again, the quickest of the round, 12.87 seconds.
Cleared the cars completely. Never even touched that last set of cars.
Unbelievable.
All right, here comes the Predator with Alan Pazo.
Isn't it incredible? This kid is still in. Engine problems in every round and qualifying. And here's the rookie that is dominating in the other half of the ladder. Rob Morris, the Texan with the four-wheel Crazy Ranger. Tell you what, though, you know, Alan Pazo is not going to shut off early here either.
Rob Morris, definitely the one to keep an eye on.
Been amazing in his debut.
All right, here we go. Up over the first set of cars.
Tell you, it's about an even battle at that point, but still the engine problems for Pazo coming back to haunt him.
He must be losing some oil. Looks like oil hitting those headers. And four-wheel Crazy Rob Morris takes the win.
Boy, Pazo didn't give up again, though. He drove her full throttle, even though it looked like the Ford was going to get there first. Here's Pazo with the engine oiling problems that you pointed out, Jerry. Beautiful leap, 14.22 seconds. That's the quickest he's run all day long. But those engine problems definitely slowed him against that Ford.
All right, here we go. It's going to be Bigfoot with Andy Brass. And he's going to be going against Dale Boucher and the AMPM Rocket.
We've seen Andy Brass run the quickest runs of the day, but here's the kid that just will not say die. Dale Boucher has shown guts. Tremendous launch for Andy Brass. Beautiful landing, a little bit sideways, and Boucher for the first time may have had problems.
This could be close. Andy Brass puts the pedal down.
And still clears every one of those cars. Look at Boucher, almost a nosedive as he takes a wild dance. Andy Brass for the second time in a row clears every one of the cars in the finish line. Look at the starting line launch. Look at the elapsed time.
11.22.
Man, that's 2 seconds quicker than anybody has gone today. A sideways landing to boot. And then look at this landing here.
He completely clears the cars. Brings it down very hard, though.
That new racer is awesome. So Bigfoot goes to the final. Now it's the young rookie, Rob Morris, the Fort Worth, Texas driver of the four-wheel Crazy Ford. And look who's back in the show. Alan Bezos, still with engine problems, got into the semis as the quickest loser from the previous round.
All right, here we go. Both machines on their way. Up, and over for Alan Bezos.
Indeed, the Rob Morris-driven Ford, still the engine problems for Bezos. The Rob Morris-driven Ford looks like he's got it. But look at Alan Bezos. You gotta give this kid credit. He has survived problem after problem after problem with a wild bounce to come into a semi-final round finish. That kid has done a great job.
Four-wheel Crazy doing a great job with 13.42 seconds.
That's for sure. It's the quickest run he's made all day long. He's ready for Bigfoot in the final. That means it will be Bigfoot, the killer, against a kid with a brand new truck and a brand new ride at its first event ever. As Alan Bezos bounces off into the sunset, we look like we may have problems. There's Bob Chandler in the black hat, the owner of Bigfoot.
You notice he came down very hard on that left front wheel, and that's the area that they're looking at.
I'll tell you, Andy Brass, the driver in the uniform, saying, I can't make this run. Bob Chandler shaking his head and walking away. Obviously, the man who created Bigfoot is upset, and we've gotten word that they are bringing Dale Boucher in the AM/PM Rocket Chevy back into this final round as the quickest loser from the semis. He'll take on the new rookie king.
That's right. The brake rule is in effect, so that means that Dale Boucher gets back into the program because of Bigfoot braking.
What a disappointment for Bob Chandler. Machine was running 2 seconds quicker than its nearest opponent. Rob Morris now has to look at a possibility of a first ever national event title. So does this kid. Neither one of these guys has ever won a U.S. Hoffman Association Camel National event.
Well, the crowd is on their feet. This is the final in the monster truck division, and this ought to be a good one.
Ford and Chevrolet, two rookies looking at their first bit of national fame.
Here we go. Dale Boucher up and over, brings it down hard.
So does the Rob Morris-driven four-wheel Crazy, and this is going to be a battle. Look at this.
Around and around the last time, and it's the four-wheel Crazy.
Unbelievable. Look at the fist out the window. The crowd is stunned. In his first event ever with a brand new truck, Rob Morris reaches the national limelight with a win at one of the biggest U.S. Hoffman Association camel events in the country.
Oh, is he happy? He is thrilled to death on this one. Takes off his next race, and the crowd is going wild.
The crowd is behind him all the way.
Let's take a look at Rob Morris on his first jump. Great jump.
It's hard to believe that a brand new driver and a brand new truck can come away the winner at this event, but Jerry, that's basically what we saw. Rob Morris with a brand new vehicle out of Texas basically lived out a Cinderella fantasy here.
It certainly was, and it was a great afternoon. The fans are filing out of Anaheim Stadium, nearly hoarse from cheering on their favorite monster truck. But coming up now, the standings. How does that affect the national standings after this afternoon?
Well, the U.S. Hoffman Association Camel World Championship Series has already proven to be a dogfight even in the early going. But this weekend, we did see a few changes.
Well, Bigfoot holds on to the #1 spot.
Certainly not by much. Based on the performances earlier in the year by Excalibur and Chuck Hawkins, Rob Fuchs and First Blood, they're hanging on to 2nd and 2. But look where Rob Morris and the four-wheel Crazy moves into the field in the #4 standings in the $100,000 World Championship Tour.
Well, that's right. Taurus will hold down the #6, Predator #7, and the AM/PM Rocket and Boss with 9 and 10.
Tell you, even Alan Tura with Hercules moved up into the top 10 in this $100,000 World Championship chase.
From Jack Murphy Stadium in beautiful San Diego, California, my name is Jerry Devine, and with me is National Motorsports commentator Brett Kepner.
Well, thank you, Jerry. Probably the most incredible aspect of this event so far has been the fact that throughout the pre-race ceremonies, we were plagued by a light drizzle. It's still raining just a little bit, but the race fans are still packing Jack Murphy Stadium. Jerry, this could be one of the largest crowds of the year.
It certainly looks like it could be, Brett. 13 of the best monster trucks all over the country are here tonight, and they're going after the $100,000 Camel Points Championship. Right now, we've got Gene Patterson, driver of Bigfoot, down on the stadium floor. Gene, how does it look tonight?
Well, there's 11 other trucks here tonight that's going to try to knock the Ford Bigfoot down one more notch, and we're not going to let it happen here in San Diego because we're here for the fans.
Well, Gene, the rain has got to concern you. How is the drizzle going to affect your strategy?
Well, the rain's going to affect the competition dramatically because the track's going to be real greasy at the start. The first 3 or 4 trucks are going to have a problem. We draw the low number, and our Goodyear Terra tires are going to give us an excellent grip. We can maintain it to get over the cars with the BDS power. Hopefully, we'll be at the finish line at the end.
Best of luck, Gene.
Thank you very much.
Well, Brett, tonight we've got a little bit different track configuration than we had at Anaheim.
That's true. As opposed to the last few events, we've seen circular tracks. This one is pretty much side-by-side drag racing, straight arrow action. As you can see, the course itself is actually 150 feet long with another 150 feet of shutdown area, but with only one set of cars in the center and then a flat on-the-ground finish line, we're probably going to see some elapsed times in the mid-5-second range. It should offer some very, very close racing. We should probably point out that they only have one qualifying run each. This is a one-shot deal.
That's right, Brett, and also we'll be watching just one monster truck at a time. So we're going to have a good look at each one of the monster trucks as they make their qualifying pass. Coming up first, it's going to be the Ecology Eliminator. It'll be driven tonight by Jim Reese.
I'll tell you what, Jerry, that was an incredible run considering the fact that we were just talking about how slippery it's going to be. 4.10 seconds is substantially quicker than we thought we were going to see.
Coming up next, Hot Stuff with Todd Blazer behind the controls. Here's one to keep an eye on. Whoa.
Blazer's not going to worry about any slippery course. This is the young man we saw do so well at the very first event of the year in Seattle, Washington. And short wheelbase Chevy-powered Jeep runs 4.59 seconds. Great run under these conditions.
Here's the Terminator, Mark Jaleski doing the driving.
This is a relatively new truck, fairly heavy with big block Chevrolet power, but it'll be interesting to see how it does. I'll tell you, that thing has a loose suspension. It was all over the place, but managed to keep at least 3 wheels on the ground. Gillespie's relatively new entry should be somewhere in the mid-6s there. 7 seconds flat. That'll be good enough right now for one of the top 5 spots.
Look at this. This is four-wheel crazy Rob Morris.
Indeed, the young man who won the last event of the tour at Anaheim in a serious underdog effort. Whoa! And again, look at sparks coming out from underneath the front end. He may have damaged the front drive unit. The elapsed time, 5.31 seconds, will be good for third, but he's looking for points.
Alan Pizzo with the Predator.
Another guy we saw do so well at Anaheim.
It's some air.
He actually got a lot more air than I thought he would, considering that he left the starting line pretty easily. The semifinalist from our last event runs 6.02 seconds. That'll be good for one of the top 6 spots. Obviously, the crowd loves every minute of this Big Blue Ford's performances. The #1 spot right now, 4.10 seconds. That's the mark to beat for Patterson, the Missouri driver in Chandler's Supercharged Ford.
This is qualifying for first round pairings that we're watching right now. Here we go, Gene Patterson.
I'll tell you, had he not nosedived that thing on the next to last car, that would have been even quicker. 4.55 seconds. Tell you what, he used up every inch of stopping distance, but here's one of the wildest drivers on the circuit.
You better believe it. This is Jeff Painter with High Voltage, a short wheelbase machine. Let's watch him now.
He's always one of the wildest out there. Never fails to put on a show. #1 spot, 410.
Wow!
Unbelievable, landing on the left front wheel only. Painter makes a serious charge for the pole, runs 5.12 seconds, and that'll be good enough for the #4 qualifying spot, Jer.
Left side, it's going to be barefoot. Warren Davis doing the driving against the Predator, Alan Pizzo. Side-by-side racing, here we go.
What a battle. Alan Pizzo had that one, Jerry.
It was a great run. Look at this now.
See him hit both in the air about the same point. Now watch Pizzo on the right side. He takes a nosedive. The front end comes way up, and that's all Warren Davis needed to drive around right there. About a half a truck length, but it was enough, somewhat of an upset. And barefoot at 5.29 seconds. That's the quickest winning run we've seen.
The Exterminator with Gary Schott doing the driving. He'll be going against Hot Stuff, Todd Blazer.
I'll tell you, both drivers had to do some wheeling in that one. Blazer on the brakes hard in the short wheelbase Jeep. There's no question that this young man in his second race ever is gonna be a star. 4.71 seconds, sideways landing that puts him up in the air a second time. He stays in the throttle, never gets off the gas to take that win. I should point out, Jerry, the most unfortunate aspect of this first round is that one of the up-and-coming stars on the U.S. Hobbit Association Trail, Jeff Baintner's Jeep, the high-voltage machine, could not make it out for this first round after breaking something after qualifying.
Warren Davis driving barefoot, Gene Patterson driving Bigfoot. Here we go. Ford and Chevrolet.
I'll tell you, Davis starts to move in on him at the finish line, but that race was won on Gene Patterson's driving reactions. The starting line whole shot went to the Big Blue Ford. Look at the crowd. Every time these two get together, Jerry, the crowd is literally going crazy.
Oh, they love it.
It helps when you pump him up a little too, doesn't it? Patterson out of the cockpit, letting the fans know that he was driving for the Ford freaks out there. But as you pointed out, Jerry, this battle is so intense. And again, Patterson got the whole shot. That's what he needed. 5.12 seconds for Bigfoot, 5.56 for Barefoot. Wild landing by Patterson. That's where Warren Davis started moving in on him, but it was still 3/4 of a truck on the finish line.
All right, here's four-wheel crazy. Rob Morris doing the driving. And he'll be going against the Iron Butterfly, Terry McLaughlin. Close.
You know, I'll tell you, I am amazed that was as close as it was. McLaughlin was out in front at half track. It wasn't until the last 30 or 40 feet that Rob Morris really got a serious advantage. 650 to 664, 14/100ths of a second between them. There you see the Anaheim winner driving around by about a half truck length, but 22,000-pound van kept pace.
All right, here we go with the Skull Crusher. Steve Helms doing the driving. And he'll be going against Hot Stuff, Todd Blazer. This ought to be a good one.
Blazer sideways, actually in front of his opponent down in the shutdown area. That was as much of a driving job by Helms in the Crusher as it was by Blazer in the red Jeep. The Hot Stuff machine actually got off the starting line second. The whole shot went to the green Chevrolet, but there you see Blazer in the air for almost the entire length of Crush cars. Now watch at the finish line, he gets sideways when he lands with the front wheels crooked, Jerry.
The truck which will rack up the most points in the 1990 $100,000 Camel Series. The Eliminator with Jim Reese will be going against Bigfoot Gene Patterson.
Now we get to see what Reese and the Eliminator is really capable of. #1 qualifier taking on Bigfoot in another Ford and Chevy battle. This will be interesting.
It certainly will. Blue truck is Bigfoot. The primer machine is the Eliminator, Jim Reese. Here we go. They are ready. Upset.
Unbelievable upset. Now, I'll tell you what, for the third straight run, Gene Patterson nosedived the Big Blue Ford into the next to last car, and that's what kept him from winning this match. The Lambs tied 5.52 seconds for Bigfoot. There's the nosedive that put the front end back up. Patterson had to get out of the throttle just for a minute. Boy, he almost tore the right rear tire right off the rim there on the landing. In the meantime, in the other lane, Reese was driving on by at the finish line. What an upset.
All right, now we have four-wheel crazy Rob Morris. He'll be on the left side of your screen. Rob Morris from Fort Worth, Texas. He'll be going against Hot Stuff, Todd Blazer.
Now, Jerry, we saw the four-wheel crazy Ford win in its first ever event at Anaheim. Here's Todd Blazer's Jeep in its second ever event. Who do you think's going to win?
Well, that short wheelbase Jeep is certainly one to keep an eye on. The Jeep takes the win.
I'll tell you, I would never have believed it after Rob Morris's domination of Anaheim. Todd Blazer, in only his second event, the Wisconsin driver in the Jeep, puts her way up in the air and takes another rough landing. That short wheelbase Jeep just wants to go everywhere when it comes down onto the cars. He'll advance to the final round at 5.34 seconds, about 15/100ths of a second slower than Eliminator. But it'll be the big red Jeep against the primered Chevrolet of Jim Reese in the final round here at San Diego.
Well, here is that final round. And this is the first time for both of these drivers to be in the finals. The Eliminator, Jim Reese, going against Hot Stuff, Todd Blazer.
Tell you, you don't know who to pick. The #1 qualifier against the #3 qualifier. This should be interesting.
Both machines about ready to go. The driver's watching the starter. Here we go. It's Jim Reese.
I'll tell you, Blazer was really moving in on him down there at the finish line, but indeed, Jim Reese takes his first ever national event win on the U.S.HRA Association Camel Monster Truck Racing Tour. The machine so new it is still primered, takes out a rookie driver in the other lane. What a way to finish this event. You couldn't ask for more incredible action. Just saw mud racing upsets galore. Now this incredible battle. Jim Reese takes his first ever win.
Well, Jim Reese climbing out of the truck right now to talk to the crowd. Look at this replay.
They hit the cars about even. There really was no hole shot to speak of. Now you see Reese get a serious advantage on the cars, but Blazer actually made up half of that down by the finish line. It was a half truck at the marker, and the Chevrolet picks it up. Look at Blazer driving after him even after they passed the finish line. He didn't want to see that Chevrolet out in front of him.
Let's go now to the winner of the Monster Truck Division, Jim Reese. Jim, on your last event, you rolled the truck. Tell us what happened.
Well, at our last show, the truck was new, and we turned the truck over. And it was a brand new truck. We brought it out for the first time, and we turned it over early in the race. We had a good qualifying time, and we thought we were going to do real well, and we turned it over, and we've been working real hard to get here, and it's been a real good show for us here. We're really glad to come out this way.
And rightfully so, a tremendous job. But you had to feel a little bit anxious coming into an event with this kind of competition. Did you really think you could pull it out?
Well, I wasn't really sure. I picked a #1 qualifier, and I thought my luck wasn't going to be with me. We qualified in the top, the fastest qualifier, and I kind of had a feeling from that point on we were going to do really good.
You certainly did, Guy. Congratulations on your first national event win.
Thank you very much.
I'll tell you, with 3 different event winners in 3 different events on ESPN, and the Monster Truck Battle is definitely up for grabs, Jerry.
It certainly is.
Jerry, in the point standings, the Bigfoot team retains their #1 position by virtue of their semifinal finish here today, and the four-wheel crazy team of Rob Morris moves up a spot to #3.
Welcome. I'm Jerry Devine, and I'm here along with Brett Kepner. We're going to be bringing you action tonight from the Louisiana Superdome in New Orleans as we bring you the U.S.HRA Association Mud and Monster Racing Championships. Brett, another night of great racing action ahead of us.
No question about it. Super Modified Mud Racing Championship Monster Truck action on the U.S.HRA Association National Event Tour for 1990. And as you see right now, our monster truck track is rather unusual. Standard 150-foot course with lots of shutdown area, but something new and unusual. A couple of, I guess, speed bumps, you might want to call them, Jerry, right off the starting line.
That's going to be real interesting to watch because the drivers have a whole new...
Something else we've been seeing in 1990 at U.S.HRA Association Championship events across the country, Jerry, is kind of a pre-race ritual of crushing the cars with a monster tank. What benefit are we going to see from the black gold van?
Well, he's going to be crushing the cars down because the cars are now more or less like they would come off the street. And he's going to be crushing them down so both trucks will have an equal advantage. And you'll notice that the cars in the other lane have not been crushed down totally yet. The black gold is going to swing around and pass over these cars. This is a heavy machine, so he really squeezes them down so as to make these racing service very equal.
20,000 pounds of Army M4 personnel carrier with a Ford van body on top, supercharged Ford power. That's a wild machine, but it's not nearly as wild as the monster trucks we'll be seeing next in qualifying. Stay with us.
Coming up next, it'll be Rocky Mountain Thunder, driven by Nick Jackson. He'll be going against Evil Force, Ray Pukowski of St. Louis. Trucks both getting down, shut down all right. Let's check the times now as we look at the instant replay. Rocky Mountain Thunder with a 5.45 second run.
I'll tell you what, you can see, even with Evil Force running 5.55 seconds, only a tenth behind him, you can see where that new speed bump just off the line is keeping these guys in the air a lot. Very, very little time on the ground before they hit the cars.
Machine ready to go. There's a Chi-Town Hustler getting there first. Let's check his time now.
You can see obvious problems for the brand new Kid Stuff Chevrolet, never really getting a decent start off the line. When he hit the cars, everything was fine, but by that time, he had already lost a solid 2 seconds. The elapsed time, 7.10 seconds for the brand new Chevrolet entry. Now, on the other lane, Kevin Dabney with the Chi-Town Hustler, believe it or not, Nissan King cab body machine is a rear-engine Chevrolet. You can see the difference as it leaves the starting line. The youngster from North Carolina who's still been in this sport about 7 years. It's a lot different weight transfer in that rear-engine small block Chevy powered machine. You can see the difference is about 3 or 4 truck lengths at the finish line.
All fiberglass body and a special design chassis just for racing. A great solo run by Jack Willman.
No question, that was a lot of air for the Illinois-based Chevrolet. Trying to beat 4.72 seconds. His arch rival Bigfoot in the lead. He runs 4.90 seconds. Watch this comeback, though, on the landing. Big sideways bounce, but it's good enough for the number 2 qualifying spot. Jerry, you got to admit, this rivalry is one of the hottest in the sport. Taurus versus Bigfoot, both of them are out for blood.
Driven tonight by John Pant. John is the low qualifier in tonight's event, so he gets the single bye run.
Crowd definitely seemed to like that solo effort, and of course John Payant trying to see how close he can come to a qualifying effort of 4.74 seconds. There you see that new bump that has already affected the racing quite a bit. At 4.88 seconds, though, Jerry, he looks like he's doing plenty strong. Beautiful leap there.
He certainly made a hard charge on that single run. He really didn't have to run it that hard, but he did it anyway, putting it on a great show for the people here at the Superdome. Thumper 2 takes the win. He'll go into the semifinals.
A lot of smoke out of the Florida-based Ford, though. If I had to guess, Jerry, I'd say that was a power steering pump that went away, spraying the hot exhaust headers with the fluid. That's where the smoke comes from. A seesaw battle. You can see the Thumper get the whole shot here on the replay. It moves first as it hits that first dirt rise. And at 5.53 seconds, he was not on the best run he could have made. And the other lane at that time, of course, Kevin Dabney had moved in on him, but then stalled, and that allowed the green Ford to cross the line smoking, but still a winner. The Chi-Town machine in the other lane, 0.2 of a second behind that at 5.78 seconds.
Evil Force, driven tonight by Ray Pekulski. This is the 22,000-pound tow truck. We'll be going against Florida. Jack Willman.
Whoa! Completely sideways as he lands after the last jump, and indeed, Jack Willman, the Taurus Chevrolet, will take that win, but not without a wild ride. You certainly have to hand credit as well to Ray Pekulski. The 22,000-pound Ford actually got the whole shot. This thing spent very little time on the ground here before actually hitting the ramp to the cars. At 6.23 seconds, though, at about the half-track point, he found himself well behind the purple Chevrolet from Granite City, Illinois. The Taurus machine, in the meantime, driven by the elder half of the Willman family racing team, Jack Sr., definitely got some air. You can see Pekulski leaving the line, but keep your eyes on the machine in the other lane as the Taurus Chevrolet lands just once or twice before hitting the car ramp, then hits the air. Watch this bounce, though, that sends it sideways over the finish line area. Pekulski only a half of a truck behind.
Got to be exciting. It's Bigfoot.
But not by much. I'll tell you what, the crowd loves every minute of that. Again, that smoke problem that apparently is still the power steering pump for the Gadget family entry out of Florida. But John Payant comes from behind to win that match literally in a matter of inches. His quickest run of this event at the 470 zone. Thumper runs 483, and that loss by far his quickest run of the event. Beautiful leap there. You see the smoke as soon as it lands, as again that power steering pump problem comes back. But in the other lane, Bigfoot literally only a few inches out in front. The elapsed time of the Big Blue Ford had to be awesome if Dadgett lost in 4.83 seconds. You can see the whole shot, an honest half-truck length by Dadgett. And by the time they got to the cars, it was almost a full truck length. But here comes Pyatt, 4.63 seconds, and a win by less than a foot. Jerry, the quickest run of this event.
Driven by Jack Woolman, Granite City, Illinois. Going against Rocky Mountain Thunder. And it's Taurus, the Chevrolet, going into the finals against Bigfoot.
Blowout on that one. Nick Jackson never really in the hunt at all, but now that will set up, Jerry, the final round that the fans came to see. Ford and Chevy, Bigfoot versus Taurus. You can see an excellent starting line launch and a 4.70 second elapsed time and a rough landing for Jack Willman. That puts him only 0.07 of a second behind the Bigfoot Ford. This final could be absolute war.
Taurus, driven by Jack Woolman, going against the Big Blue Ford from St. Louis, Bigfoot.
This could be a heck of a battle. Pyatt, of course, we talked about the fact that the youngster behind the wheel of Bigfoot is leading the U.S. Hobbit Association Camel World Championship standings. But the Taurus Chevrolet could move up tremendously with a win here tonight. And John Pyatt knows he's got to protect that points lead.
Oh, this is going to be an all-out battle, and both drivers are going to have the pedal down all the way.
Another Ford and Chevy matchup here in the final round of the Superdome. The U.S. Hobbit Association's National Championship Series continues. This could simply be the wildest race of the last two seasons here.
Listen to the fans at the Superdome. They are going wild. They are getting ready. They're on their feet for this one. Get ready. Here we go.
Absolutely the most incredible final round you could ever hope to see, and I honestly, Jerry, did not know who won it either. On the replay, you can see both machines leave as one. Look at the Taurus Chevrolet in the air. Only one touchdown before he hits the cars. The elapsed time, an incredible 4.38 seconds. Bigfoot blows him over. Now actually tags him down in the shutdown area. Absolutely incredible final round. 4.38 seconds for the Taurus Chevrolet, the quickest one of the event. Bigfoot, though, even quicker at 4.22 seconds. There, the motor explodes in midair. They land. Bigfoot comes across on the brakes, rear end of the air, tags the Taurus Chevrolet. But we've just gotten the word, Jerry, from the floor. Bigfoot is the official winner.
Unbelievable. Look at the smoke. You can hardly see Bigfoot in that cloud of engine smoke.
Simply one of the most fantastic final rounds anyone could ever hope to witness. Ford and Chevrolet, with the Ford exploding an engine in the air and winning the event. Their crew chief George Smith shakes John Pyatt's hand. Pyatt in turn shakes that of Jack Willman, the loser of the Taurus Chevrolet. What an unbelievable way to finish this event.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what John Pyatt has to say about this run.
After that ride, I would think he would have plenty to say about it. Such a bizarre way to complete that particular battle, blowing the motor and then coming over and actually touching his opponent. But still, he will get the win. John Pyatt still somewhere, somehow, has enough inside left to smile about the whole ordeal.
Well, we're going to get a chance to talk to Jack Woolman and John Pyatt, and also the winner of the Super Modified.
Right, Steve Balazar did only the second time out of his Supercharged Ford Ranger as the Bigfoot team checks the engine damage underneath. The well-known Big Blue Ford and Bob Chandler. That will put them squarely in the #1 points position for at least another week. At the conclusion of one of the most amazing nights of competition in U.S. Hobbit Association history, we have our finalists of the Monster Truck War on the floor right now, including Jack Willman. Jack, you had to be pretty happy with that performance. You picked up a lot of time.
Yeah, I felt pretty good. I got in the air over the hump there, and of course, it never did come back down on the ground. The back wheels kind of hit the ground, and I was in the throttle pretty hard, and Brett, she just went way in the air, you know, and of course, when you're in the air, you can't make very good time.
Any damage at all, Jack?
No, it's in good shape. No damage. Kind of foot run into the back of it there with his tire there, run into the rear tire, but no, there's no damage, Brett.
Experience had to play a big part in tonight's performance for you.
Yeah, and you know, I've been in that situation a few times, and of course the thing that you do when you get in that situation, you rely on the throttle and just keep your foot away from everything else and just push on the throttle.
Well, where's Torres headed for next?
My son will be competing down in Tampa. I'll be going to another event, which my son will have the other truck, the 89, which is our new racer. This is one of our racers, but it's not the latest model we come out with.
Well, congratulations, Jack, on a great job.
Well, thanks a lot, Brett.
Taking a look at the incredible engine-exploding flight of the Bigfoot Ford in the final round, we have John Pyatt, the driver, down on the floor. And, John, at 4.22 seconds, you pulled a tremendous amount of power out of that machine in the final.
Yeah, it felt like I had a really good jump off the line. And first dirt mound, I got a really good drive towards the cars. And when I started shifting, going through the gears, I knew that I had a good run going.
Well, did Torres get out of his lane, or did you bounce into his lane?
No, actually, it's my fault. When I come off the last set of cars, it kind of slid towards his side, and I was just on the brakes trying to stop before I hit him.
Well, you must be happy with the new design of the truck that you have tonight.
Yeah, I am. The Ford Bigfoot turned out really good tonight, and it ran well all night long. I'm real happy with what it did.
Well, you had to contend with a lot of different things in that final. Was it as violent as it appeared to be?
Yeah, I think on the last run, I might have tore the motor up in that one, so we'll have to get it back to the shop and see what happens.
See you in Tampa next?
Oh, yeah, we'll be down here for sure.
Well, congratulations again, John. Great job.
Okay, thank you, Brad.
Well, Brett, let's check out the point standings now in the monster trucks.
Well, Jerry, in the U.S. Hominid Association Camel Mud Monster World Championship point standings, the Bigfoot team with John Pyatt behind the wheel still leads. As a matter of fact, with about a 100-point advantage right now over Chuck Pawkins, the guy they call Psycho in the Excalibur Chevy. The big change was in the number 3 spot, though. Moving up 2 positions was Jack Wilbon and, of course, the Taurus Chevrolet based on his runner-up here. And the only other change in the top 10 based on this event came to the number 8 spot, Ray Perkowski's Evil Force tow truck, the big 22,000-pounder that we saw qualify well here today, ended up in the number 8 position overall going into next week's event. And right down, Jerry, with Bigfoot still leading the field, I would seem to think this is probably going to change in the next couple of weeks.
I would certainly think so, Brett, but, you know, each and every week, these drivers have to keep the pedal down. The pressure is on.
You know, the phenomenon of monster truck racing has definitely taken the country by storm since its origins back in 1973 when a gentleman from St. Louis, Missouri named Bob Chandler decided to draw a little bit of attention to his four-wheel drive truck business. He created the original monster truck and he named it Bigfoot. Now, nearly 2 decades later, that same name is still at the forefront of this incredible form of motorsports. In recent years, however, the Bigfoot team has received more and more challenges from the ever-growing number of monster truck competitors on the national tour. This event should be the ultimate showdown for these types of vehicles. Back to you, gentlemen.
As we get set for our first race, remember it's the fastest one to the finish, and the course takes them over 8 cars. In lane 1, Rob Fuchs, driving First Blood. He's 29 years old from Woodstock, Illinois, and he's been driving for 4 years, driving a 1990 Ford that's valued at $80,000. In lane 2, 32-year-old Andy Brass driving Bigfoot, probably the most recognized name in monster truck racing, starting with the first round.
Well, Bigfoot is one of the most sophisticated monster trucks out here this afternoon. Christmas tree start, here we go. Let's watch him. Bigfoot on his way. Lots of air, he's through it. And a great race for Bigfoot.
Not only a sophisticated car, but a very fast one. Let's take a look at the replay.
All right, on the replay, you can see Bigfoot getting off just a little bit to the left, coming down kind of hard on that left front tire, but he's okay and he will advance.
We're now ready for our third heat. It will be Excalibur in lane 1 going against Rocket in lane 2.
All right, both drivers ready to go. They're watching that Christmas tree. Just one yellow and then a green.
Excalibur is driven by Chuck Pawkins from Toledo, Ohio. He's 29 years old. And Rocket will be driven by Dale Boucher, 22 years old from Santa Ynez, California.
All right, they're just about ready to throw the switch in the Christmas tree. Watch him, a good launch. Excalibur maybe with just a few feet, and that might have won him the race. Excalibur advances into the next round.
Jerry, it appears that the start is so important.
Well, it certainly is, because it's the first one to the finish line in monster truck racing that takes the win. Look at the height on both of these cars. Excalibur getting off just a little bit to the left, and look at this. I thought maybe he was going to go right over on his nose. Clearing 8 cars. Can you imagine that? And a total racing distance of 150 feet.
Taurus and Bigfoot are pulling up to the line, and Taurus, being the underdog here, has something to prove.
That's right, he certainly does, because just a few weeks ago at the Houston Astrodome, Taurus did beat Bigfoot. Now, this is the new breed of monster truck. These are the racers. All tubular chassis, special suspensions, fiberglass bodies. They are fast, 9,000 minimum pounds.
Taurus will be in lane 1, driven by Jack Willman. Bigfoot in lane 2, driven by Andy Brass.
This ought to be a good race. The winner of this one goes into the final. Who's it going to be? Here we go. Oh, and it's Bigfoot. Bigfoot by about a fender.
Bigfoot, accepting the challenge from Taurus, gets a fantastic start, clears all the automobiles and flies through as the winner and moves into our final.
Andy Brass real happy as he goes into the finals now.
Now for our next semifinal, it's Excalibur in lane 1, driven by Chuck Pockin. And in lane 2, it's Fred Schaefer driving Barefoot.
Both drivers coming to the starting line, getting ready to go. The winner of this one will face Bigfoot. A good even start. Fred Schaefer gets a great jump. Brings it down, tries to stop it. Oh, I thought he was going to hit the wall. Fred Schaefer, and look at the height that he has. He brings it down. He could have cleared 2 more cars. Fred Schaefer and Barefoot goes into the final.
So it'll be a classic matchup here. Barefoot versus Bigfoot when we come back. Now as we get set for the monster final, it'll be Fred Schaefer in lane 1 in Barefoot going against Andy Brass in lane 2 in Bigfoot. Thanks, Brett. And as Jerry mentioned earlier, Tom Martin always consistent and once again a winner here. This is it, the classic matchup. Bigfoot versus Barefoot. This is the event that everyone came here to see.
It's the classic lineup with Ford against Chevrolet. And this is the view from inside of Bigfoot. Here we go. Both drivers bringing up the RPM. They're just about ready to go. Here we go. They're on their way. Look at the height of Barefoot. Bigfoot is the winner. Bigfoot takes the win.
Jerry, you mentioned the height on Barefoot, but it seemed like the speed of Bigfoot is what brought Bigfoot to the victory here.
That's correct. That time that he spent in the air of Barefoot cost him the race. Bigfoot went straight and right through across the finish line.
When we come back, we'll take a look at how the race looked from inside the cab of Bigfoot. We'll also have a winner's interview.
People would easily say this is the biggest monster truck race of all time. Semifinals, you won by your starting line reactions alone on a hole shot. This one, you won by about 2 feet, 0.2 of a second, 328 to a losing 348. This thing killed him again.
That's right. Well, the Bosch Bigfoot Ford has been running real well tonight, you know. We did a lot of changes, trying some strategy out on the line, trying to do a few different things all night long, watching the other guys. And really, this short as track as this has been, that really getting the guys off the line is the big thing here.
Without a doubt, another dominating event for the incredible Big Blue Ford. Andy Brass, congratulations, a phenomenal win.
Well, thank you, Brett. It's been really nice. You know, thanks to all the guys back at Ford, Bosch, made the truck real good, and all the guys back shop put it together in a hurry this week. We did an excellent job.
Unbelievable job, as it has been an incredible event. Back to you. Over 65,000 race fans here at Tampa Stadium in Tampa, Florida for the continuation of the U.S. Hot Rod Association Mud Racing and Monster Truck National Championship Series. I'm Brett Kevner, and along with Jerry Devine, we'll be bringing you the action from Jerry, what is annually one of the greatest events.
The Super Bowl of motorsports with 16 of the top monster trucks. Coming up first will be Evil Force, driven by Ray Perkowski. He's from St. Louis with a 22,000-pound tow truck. This used to be called Big Tow. It's now called Evil Force. And I'm not sure if our #1 qualifier is going to be able to make it, Brett.
He's waiting. I'll tell you, Perkowski showing his sportsmanship, but there they are. Jack Willman has made it back to the starting line. Jerry, that crew has thrashed for 3 hours to repair the front-end damage they suffered after qualifying on the pole. What a job.
Well, this first round ought to be very exciting just to see Torres and see if they can hold that together. And Jack Woolman takes it easily.
Taking things on the starting line. Now, both machines are staged. Get ready for the race.
Warhawk wins.
A truly incredibly close battle. Trevor Fornes, in his first ever national event in the USHRA Association Trail with the Warthog, won that one by inches. I'll tell you what, Jerry, if the finish line had not been 4 cars from the end of that line, he would have lost because Todd Blazer passed him by the end of the cars, but the finish line is located 4 cars from the end of the line.
That's true. The hot stuff was really coming on at that finish line.
Amazing run. Trevor Fornes with a major upset. Got to remember, the driver of this bright red Jeep from Wisconsin is probably the hottest rookie of the 1990 season so far. Look at the bounce he took and kept in the throttle to hit the second set of cars. At this point, he had to be looking over because right there, while he was in the air, that was the finish line. He loses it by inches. Great race.
Both machines ready to go.
Another incredible come-from-behind win. What a job by Reese. You remember the Ecology Eliminator won one of our ESPN national events in the U.S. Auto Association Trail earlier this year. This guy can drive coming from behind after a big hole shot by Dabney, then way up in the air at the finish line to win it. I'll tell you what, that had to be close for both drivers. They had to be wondering who won that one. Jeff Baintner, the man who will drive through anything, is pulling up in the mirror lane with his incredible Jeep. He's as wild as they come.
Jeff Baintner about ready to go. Let's watch this one. This ought to be a good race. High Voltage takes the win.
Tell you, Nick Jackson, a wild ride down there in the corner in the shutdown area. I can't believe Jackson's heavyweight Ford made it such a close race against Baintner. Jackson drove like he's never driven before. This is his first full year on the National Event Tour, sideways in the air, landing, trying to get on the brakes, bouncing all over the place, people running for their lives. Unbelievable run. He finally gets it stopped right up against the retaining wall, everything under control. But in the other lane, watch this launch, picking the front wheels of this short wheelbase, hard to control Jeep. Washington veteran Jeff Baintner just drives like there's no tomorrow. As always, watch this second hit. Under power, bouncing. The machine keeps it nice and even above the cars. A great, great win by a matter of inches. Every run we've seen, Jerry, is this close.
It'll be no problem. Driven by John Moore. Going against him will be Big Red. Driven by Gary Schramm. Let's watch them now as they ease toward that starting line and getting ready to go. Wow, Big Red! He almost went over.
I'll tell you what, that thing was in the air. And I don't think anybody expected this match to be as much of a blowout as it was. Look at Schramm, he's happy. I'll tell you, Tennessee driver John Moore came off the starting line well, but ran out of steam somewhere on the top of the first set of cars. There you see it got very little air. There was really no hope for it at that point. Schramm is driving a brand new truck in the other lane that nobody had any idea was as strong as it was. John Moore finally got back under power over the second set of cars, but by then it was way too late. You can see Schramm in the other lane already stopped. I'll tell you what, the Big Red machine from the state of Nebraska was mighty impressive. Like I said, a brand new ride, a relatively unknown driver on the Camel Series. But that first set of cars, that launch showed that he had the power. When he bounced it and put the wheels up in the air again, then it really sailed. And the landing, Jerry, like you pointed out, was as wild as they come.
Well, coming up next, it's going to be Bad News, driven by Norman Myers.
This is another brand new driver in a brand new truck. We had a lot of new drivers decide to hit the U.S. Hobbit Association Camel National Event Trail starting here, but look who he's up against.
Bigfoot, driven tonight by John Payant. John is ready to go, going against Bad News. Bad News got his hands full. Here we go. And John Payant takes the win pretty easily.
We saw Alan Peza do a tremendous job in San Diego.
Let's watch this one. This ought to be a good matchup. Barefoot takes the win.
Man, did you see Peza and the Predator moving in on Barefoot, though, down at the finish line. Had Alan Peza not had a stumble at the start, he would have probably driven around this machine. Warren Davis, great starting line launch, never a bobble throughout the entire 250-foot course. Here you see him wheels up, coming down nicely, real nicely in the heavyweight Chevrolet. But boy, Peza in the other lane really made a charge at the end to make it close. About a half a truck length, in fact, at the finish line. Let's see if we can spot where Predator had the problems. Right there, the nose comes down immediately right after hitting the first set of cars. That's probably what hurt him, and that may have been a driver decision to try and keep it low, and he went too low. Look at the sparks as he hurt the front drivetrain. Obvious problems, bouncing all over the place in the shutdown area. Peza knows, though, that he gave it everything he had. But I'll tell you what, Jerry, he's going to have to come up with every bit of horsepower he's ever had in his life to get around this truck.
And, of course, with Taurus, he broke earlier in the during qualification, and whether or not they were able to fix it and make that repair last, that's going to be the secret.
It's true. We still don't know how good the repairs were. We'll have to see here.
Jack Woolman takes the win.
I'll tell you, that could have been the ultimate test of those front-end components. Jerry, everything held together on a rough ride. The Warthog Ford team has to be commended. A tremendous job at this, their first U.S. Hobbit Association National Championship event. Trevor Fornes definitely surprised a lot of people with this beautiful yellow Ford truck. Ran into problems on the last set of cars, but in all seriousness, it really didn't matter, Jerry. The Taurus Chevrolet just dominated that match from start to finish.
Unbelievable. Watch this run now.
Smooth as glass over the first set, maybe a little too high, but then it comes down rough and just kept bouncing, even drifted off to the left side. Willman never even thought about taking his foot off the throttle, though. Just incredible driving in an incredibly rough situation.
Looks like he's got it together, and he is ready to run. He'll be going against High Voltage.
The wild man is back. Jeff Baintner in the High Voltage Jeep, the ultimate never-say-die driver.
Short wheelbase Jeep going against Jim Reese. This ought to be a good one. Let's watch him now. And the win goes to High Voltage.
I don't know how. That truck was almost a full vehicle length behind Jim Reese and somehow managed to come by to win it in such a close manner you couldn't even tell. Jim Reese had a handling problem there on the second set of cars, bicycling it on the left side. He lands. There's no way in the world he could have known who won at that point. Watch this launch, though, from Baintner. Carrying the front wheels 2 feet in the air in this 15,000-pound Jeep. Tremendously airborne over the first set of cars. Just one bounce is all it took to get over the second set. Sideways in the air. What a driver. That man is fearless.
And he'll be going against Big Red, truck from Nebraska.
Brand new piece of equipment in the far lane, and Jerry, anytime a rookie driver moves up alongside that big blue Ford, anything can happen.
For sure. Gary Schramm doing the driving on Big Red.
Look at him staring at Bigfoot. John Pyatt, he gives him thumbs up. Hey, a nice way to go at it. Wishing him luck.
Bigfoot takes the win. Big Red, he was out in front.
I'll tell you what, I can't believe Gary Schramm gave John Pyatt the race that he did. Bigfoot and Pyatt doing everything they can to stay even. Look at that power stand just before it. Look at this airborne leap over the second set of cars. A nosedive, a huge set of bounces, and stops it just before running into the retaining wall. But here was the star of that match. Anybody that can give Bigfoot a battle like that in his first pairing with the legend has got to be commended. Look at this leap, and now watch this landing as the truck nosedives, and he manages to keep it right side up. What a pair of rides.
Well, John Pyatt had to come from behind on that one.
It's hard to tell which truck the Chevy fans are cheering for more, Barefoot or Taurus, but this is probably the original Chevy monster here.
All right, here we go. Let's watch him. Barefoot takes the win, and a fire in Thumper.
Well, it goes out quickly enough. Apparently just a little bit of oil on the exhaust headers of that big block supercharged Ford. You can see Dwayne Datchett out of the truck already. He wants to see what the problem was. In fact, it may still be burning just a little bit on the exhaust headers in there. Like I said, the second generation driver from the Tampa area inspecting the engine, and he says, yeah, it's still burning. Get me something to put this out. They turn on the fire extinguisher, but I don't think they're going to need it. I think it'll burn out on its own.
Safety crew right there at the spot. Here we go. Let's take another look at it.
Didn't look like there were any real problems until right at the finish line, except for a severe lack of power that allowed Barefoot to get well out in front at this point. In fact, right there, Datchett seems to be looking down at the gauges saying, why isn't this thing running right? Takes a hard bounce right there, sideways, and there for the first time you see a puff of smoke. Apparently a valve-covered gasket or something leaking oil onto the hot exhaust headers, and as they say at Cape Canaveral, we have ignition. That was a pretty good-sized fire there for a minute, Jerry.
It sure was, but safety crew was right there, and they got it taken care of. Both drivers psyching each other out, just about ready to go.
Looks like we've got a little psychology war going on the starting line. Neither driver willing to stage up immediately.
Taurus takes the win with about 2 lengths to spare.
Well, that looked a little deceiving. It looked originally like Taurus had a huge hole shot, but I think on the slow-mo we'll see that Jeff Painter had no power whatsoever off the starting line. Still great reactions by the driver of the purple GMC from Granite City, Illinois. He was right there when the green light came on. These drivers, by the way, are started by green lights located at the finish line. We can't actually see the starting mechanism. It's staring the drivers right in the face.
Warren Davis behind the controls with a Chevrolet truck, and he'll be going against John Pyatt and Bigfoot.
Now look at the scenario we've got here. So far this year, the very first event on our ESPN coverage series this year, Barefoot got runner-up in Seattle, Washington. But now Bigfoot is leading the World Championship point series. You don't think these two have something to prove to each other and to the fans? This is a war.
And the winner of this race goes against Taurus in the finals.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
Wild racing coming up. Let's watch him now. Feel the power. It's Barefoot.
The most incredible possible upset. Warren Davis comes out of the cab to salute the Chevy fans. He knows he's pulled off the biggest single upset possible at this event. Look at the machine carry the front wheels off the starting line. He dumped the clutch and made a go for it. A beautifully smooth run, still keeping the truck low to the ground, except for maybe there, but obviously he was going to drive away from Bigfoot. The nosedive kept him from slowing the truck. When you're in the air, the brakes don't help you much. He locks it up within 5 feet of the retaining wall. John Pontiac left the line somewhat sluggishly, but you can't say Bigfoot wasn't chasing the Chevy down, Jerry.
He did a good job of driving. He held the distance down. He didn't get too much air.
And another big set of bounces for the Bigfoot Ford. They've had that problem down in the shutdown area all night. He, too, was pretty close to the wall.
Here's the finals in the monster trucks. Barefoot going against Taurus. Jack Willman driving Taurus, and Warren Davis behind the controls of Barefoot. Taurus takes the win.
On the slow motion replay, you can still see Jack Willman, conservative but still aggressive. The track extremely rough. The second jump was even rougher than the first. He noses the truck just a little bit, but he knew when he landed that he was out in front, Jerry.
Welcome back. We have with us the winner in the monster trucks, Jack Willman. Congratulations, Jack. A great run on one of the biggest events on the U.S. Hot Rod Association Trail.
Yeah, there's some pretty tough competition here tonight. The lanes was getting, in pretty bad shape, and like I say, I'm glad to be a winner, and I just want to give special thanks to the owner of the truck, Jack Willman.
Your father, of course. You know, every round you had some wild rides. It looked like you were really getting beat up in there.
Yeah, the last race, like I say, the lanes was getting pretty rough, and there was getting some really big holes in the cars, and it was a really rough ride the last time, and just glad to be a winner here at the United States Hot Rod Association.
Well, about the half-track mark, you had to know you were in the lead.
Yeah, the last set of cars was really getting a big hole in them right there at the end, but a truck kind of jumped over them, and we pulled the win out.
Tremendous job nonetheless.
Thank you.
An incredible young man and an incredible truck. And, Jerry, we're going to be seeing a lot more of that machine, and that is going to make a big change in the point standings, too.
It sure. Let's take a look at these point standings right now.
Well, Bigfoot is still number one based on his semifinal finish here tonight at 923, but look at the change we've got number two, Jerry.
Taurus is coming up fast with 884 points.
I'll tell you, we saw a couple of moves in the bottom half of the top 10. The Eliminator truck up to number 7, Jeff Painter and High Voltage hanging in 8th, and probably the biggest surprise is Ray Perkowski with a 22,000-pound tow truck is actually ranked number 9 now. He's done amazingly well this year with that truck.
Ray has really come along, and he's got 476 points right now.
As you can see, when you put 65,000 people in an arena, you got to send them home all at one time. And, Jerry, there's a traffic jam out there not to be believed.
It's a dandy, but the people had a great time tonight, and they're going to go home happy.
That's for sure.
We'll be bringing you the action this time around from the Oklahoma State Fairgrounds Arena in Oklahoma City.
And, Jerry, at this point, halfway through the season, the points races are getting pretty serious in monster truck and mud racing.
And talk about monster trucks. We got them tonight. Bigfoot, Barefoot, and many of the others. So monster truck qualifying coming up. Stay with us.
I'll tell you, Jerry, the very first truck up is Bigfoot, and that's unusual. These drivers draw lots to see who starts things off. It's our points leader, John Pyatt, in the Big Blue Ford from St. Louis on what will prove to be an extremely interesting monster truck course.
Well, we'll get a chance to take a good look at that course in just a little bit, but let's watch Bigfoot with his qualifying run.
Against the clock, Bigfoot puts down the very first run of our 8-truck qualified field, and you can see on the slow motion replay just how difficult this course is going to be. The elapsed time, 3.76 seconds. It's an extremely short course, but here's a guy that may take advantage of the other way to do this, and that's hit the first jump as hard as you can and literally fly over the finish line.
Warren Davis. Whoa! Almost goes into the mud pit on this one.
Mud racers wouldn't like that. Have a monster truck going through the end before we start things off. The truck way in the air. That was probably the hardest shot we've seen at this track. And at 3.84 seconds, by 100th of a second, he'll knock Nick Jackson down to third. Here's a guy we've seen all year long, Jerry.
That's right. Chuck Hawkins with Excalibur. He's a strong contender.
Seen this truck in the top 3 in the point standings now for the last 6 months. A lot of people seem to think this is the truck that's going to come through in the clutch. Now, Hawkins once again shows that if you keep it low to the ground, you're going to land about 15 feet before the finish line, and then it's time to reapply the throttle, get some extra power to get you across the finish line, although I think that may have been a little more conservative than even Hawkins wanted at 4.34 seconds.
Definitely a very important factor, keeping it low to the ground. This is weapon one, Jerry Richmond. Whoa, look out! Oh, that was close, Brett.
I'll tell you what, that thing was definitely on two wheels. Now, you see, he goes at it full throttle. He was looking to land near the finish line. He nails the throttle once when it hits. That's when it goes over, hits the mud berm. Look at this thing on two wheels. And at 3.72 seconds, that'll be good for the #1 spot.
Rob Fuchs with First Blood coming up next, and this one is, he really likes to put the pedal down.
Man was voted Rookie of the Year last year in U.S. Hot Rod Association. And after watching Four Wheel Crazy, he goes for the same technique, literally clearing the entire course after that first jump. Lots of air, 3.50 seconds. Jerry, that technique works. That's good for the #2 spot.
Rob Fuchs is very, very aggressive.
The other way was to land once and then nail the throttle. It'll be interesting in this match between two of the toughest points drivers in the business to see which technique they use.
John Pyan with Bigfoot coming up in the lane closest to us. John will be facing Excalibur, Chuck Hawkins.
Remember that Hawkins had problems during qualifying. He was only #7 in this program. Bigfoot used a very conservative approach as the very first qualifier out, but you can bet both these drivers are going to turn extremely aggressive on this match. This is a do-or-die situation from a point standpoint.
Well, the fans here are cheering on their favorite. Looks like both drivers are ready to go. Let's watch it. Excalibur! Look out! Look out! Oh, that was close!
I'll tell you what, had it not been for a hole shot by the Chevy driver, I think the outcome would have been different. You talk aggressive. Look at the air that points leader John Plant got, literally landing almost right on the finish line. But you could see in the other lane, the Chevy driver was a half truck out in front, and that was all because of starting line reactions. Hawkins got the hole shot. Extremely aggressive. Way, way, way up in the air, landing past the finish line, Jerry. Look at this bounce up on two wheels. Look at Hawkins in the cockpit being thrown all over inside there, trying to keep this thing straight as it goes into the mud berm. Man, aggressive does not even begin to describe that battle.
And Rob Fuchs with First Blood. He's from Woodstock, Illinois. This driver also is very aggressive.
He proved that in qualifying. Like I said before, named 1989 Rookie of the Year in monster truck competition in U.S. Hot Rod Association racing. And it's important to remember also, Jerry, you know this better than anybody, that Rob Fuchs built that truck himself. That's not a store-bought piece.
Ford against Chevrolet, so we've got an interesting battle right there. Rob Fuchs going against Warren Davis, First Blood, and Barefoot. Takes the win.
On the brakes hard. I cannot believe on a course this short that Barefoot could come from behind to win. The First Blood Ford driver, Rob Fuchs, left the starting line first. Even at this point, he's behind. Now look at that. By about 1.5 feet at the finish line, Barefoot comes around after such a huge starting line deficit. Here's Warren Davis. He leaves the starting line second, gets a lot of air after that aggressive launch. He lands right at the finish line, and at that point literally was sailing through the air faster than the Ford driver, Jerry.
Unbelievable. Yeah, a great race between these two monster trucks.
I just can't believe we saw somebody come from behind on a course this short. That just goes to show you the monster trucks on the U.S. Hot Rod Association Tour will put on a show no matter what the circumstances. You know, we talked about Richmond being an ex-Barefoot team driver, and when you drive for the Barefoot team, you are not conservative. Simple as that. You do everything you possibly can to win all the time. Richmond wants to drop the #1 qualifier. He is not rated high in the points at this particular part of the season, but obviously a defeat of Rob Morris could make a big change there.
This ought to be a good one. The winner of this one now will go into the final round. Both drivers making sure that they're lined up just right.
Richmond eases it to the line. Looks like we're about ready to go. And it's Rob Morris, four-wheel crazy, taking the win.
I'll tell you, Jerry Richmond did everything he could. Boy, the Ford fans loved that one, didn't they? I don't believe it. People on their feet all the way around. They want that Texas boy to win. Indeed, a great starting line launch by Morris. He got the whole shot and then extended the lead from there. And like I said, no conservatism here whatsoever. Landing on the last car, one quick bounce. I know that he had to hit the throttle just a little bit there, Jerry, because of that nosedive. He wasn't going to give it to the Chevy.
Takes the win by about a half a length.
Now, Richmond got big-time airborne, landed about the finish line, but then he hit that berm again. Here the truck goes sideways. Watch Richmond in the driver's seat. Man, literally under the dashboard. He really got thrown around in there, Jerry.
These drivers really do get thrown around inside these trucks. All right, it's going to be Chuck Hawkins now with Excalibur going against Warren Davis and Barefoot.
Barefoot again, driver and truck that we have seen do extremely well on our ESPN coverage this year. That's why he's been in the top 4 point standings since the very beginning of the season. In fact, one of the very first races in Seattle featured this man in the final round. Now, Chuck Hawkins, like I said, with his Ohio-based Excalibur Chevy, is extremely good off the starting line. And if he can get a hole shot with his reactions like he did in the first round, I doubt if we're going to see a come from behind race like we saw last time. If the Excalibur machine can get out in front, he'll be fine. Now, we call this guy Psycho, Jerry, for a reason. Chuck Hawkins is nuts. He'll do anything it takes to win.
Well, the winner of these two trucks now will face Rob Morris in the final.
We're guaranteed a Ford Chevy finale. The starting line staging steward on the starting line tells the drivers they are lined up and then directs their attention to the starting lights, which are located past the finish line. The drivers look straight ahead all the time.
Takes it with an easy run.
And again, it was all on reactions off the starting line. Now, you see Hawkins leave the starting line with a huge hole shot. It didn't matter what Warren Davis did. With starting line reactions like that, you're never going to get around that driver. Hawkins makes it to the final round strictly on his driving ability. Had nothing whatsoever to do with horsepower. Look at the Barefoot machine in the other lane. Extremely aggressive, landing on the very edge of the last car, nose diving it a little bit, but you know that Warren Davis looked over and saw that he was a loser. But this young man, the Psycho himself, Chuck Hawkins, has done some incredible things tonight with the Excalibur Chevy.
Well, that's for sure, but his competition, Rob Morris from Fort Worth, Texas, is certainly no slouch. He has got a lot of competition coming up.
One thing you have to remember is that this is Morris's first year in competition. He's been amazing in his rookie season.
He certainly has. We saw him first in Anaheim, and here we are now in Oklahoma, and he's still growing strong.
It's true. We saw him win that very first race, and it was an upset then. Now he goes into this final round only 6 months later as the serious favorite, and Chuck Hawkins in the Excalibur Chevy is going to be the underdog in this one. But I'll tell you, if Hawkins can leave the starting line as quickly as he has so far in this event, that Ford driver is going to be in trouble. He's going to need every bit of power.
Well, the crowd here in the arena has come to life, and they are ready for this final.
I'll tell you, the people have already picked their favorites. They know who they want to win.
Those of you at home, pick out the one you think is going to win. Here we go.
The signal goes out to fire up each one of the 1,200 horsepower engines, and now it's serious business. The point standings at this point favor the blue Ford from Texas. Hawkins in the Excalibur Chevrolet has a chance now that Bigfoot was taken out by him in the very first round to make a big difference here.
Chevrolet against Ford. Here we go. Chevy closest to us. Ford in the far lane. The Chevy wins!
Absolutely incredible driving. He gets the whole shot again, but this time he came up with a lot more power than people thought he had, Jerry. Look at this, backing onto the cars. I know Chuck Hawkins, and he'll get out of that thing and give the crowd a victory salute, and you'll be able to hear their appreciation.
Super racing.
Unbelievable job. You can see all the safety equipment, the girdle, the neck brace, the helmet, the fire suit, every bit of it part of the U.S. Hobbit Association safety rules, but this crowd cannot believe that the Chevrolet pulled it off from the number 7 qualifying position.
There he is. There's your winner. Chuck Palkins, and the fans love it.
I just can't believe that he used the starting line advantages one more time in the final round. This man's reactions are simply incredible. He leaves the line, but watch this. Full power all the way up the ramp on the first car. Look at the height this thing achieves, a truck length advantage. He lands 10 feet past the finish line. Look at this landing, completely crazy. That's why the crowd were on their feet.
Chuck Palkins doing a great job. Well, here's Rob Morris now.
I'll tell you, as much as he had done so far at this event, low qualifier, the quickest time in every round, you got to admit that it looked like the Ford pilot had a serious advantage against the Chevrolet. He, too, used the same pretty much technique he had used throughout the event, landing on the last car and applying throttle at one last point before crossing the finish line. But he was an honest truck length behind on a short course. That's a bunch.
Well, Chuck Palkins takes the win with Excalibur, and we're going to get him over here so we can talk to him a little bit. And I see that the camera crew has got him down on the floor right now. Chuck Palkins, great night of racing. Chuck, have you done anything recently to change the truck? It runs really great tonight.
Yes, I did. I ended up changing the gearing in the transfer case to enable me to use more gears, is what it comes down to. It makes the truck faster on a shorter course.
Well, you had to be especially thrilled with the first round against that big blue Ford. That was a big deal.
Yeah, it's a real ego boost when you beat Bigfoot, and that's what we're out here to do, is put on a good show for the Chevy fans.
Well, that's exactly what you did. The new points fund this year has to be a major concern. You've managed to stay in the top 3 all year.
It's a great goal for what they've given us. You know, it's a big goal to strive for. It's nice that someone's finally stepped in and given us a points fund to run for. It just makes us want to come out and do the very best we can.
Well, congratulations, Chuck, on a great night of racing.
All right, thank you. I'd like to thank all my sponsors that helped me come here. Thanks.
Pretty incredible young man.
Unbelievable night of racing.
That's for sure, and this will probably change the point standing substantially as well. With Palkins moving up, I would think that it probably made a difference with some of the other competitors that were here tonight. In the number 10 position, Ray Perkowski out of St. Louis with the Evil Force Ford. Number 9 is Jeff Baintner in the high voltage Jeep, one of the wild men of the tour. The 8th position, the Chevrolet AM/PM Rocket of Dale Boucher, but the big changes came in the number 6 and number 7 spots, where Rob Morris and Warren Davis in the Ford and Chevrolet entries respectively got knocked down a notch, and the sole reason that they dropped to 6th and 7th was because of the performance of Chuck Palkins in the Excalibur Chevrolet here tonight. In fact, the reason Palkins has moved into 5th is because by defeating Morris in the final round, he gained enough of a points advantage, the two were so close, that he has now slid in just by a few points into the number 5 spot.
Competition is keen from 6 to 10, but let's look at the top 5 now.
Well, right now, Palkins is currently 5th at 678 points, and he does have a way to go to pick up any distance on Jim Reese in the Ecology Eliminator, which is 4th.
That's right. Number 3 will be Rob Fuchs from Woodstock, Illinois, with First Blood. Then comes Jack Willman, who holds down the number 2 spot from Granite City, Illinois. And still number 1, that big blue Ford from St. Louis, Bigfoot, with 1,259 points.
It's amazing, considering the fact that Bigfoot has lost in the first round here tonight, that he can still hold on to that lead. But sooner or later, we're going to see more of these Bigfoot versus Taurus shootouts. Rob Fuchs, last year's Rookie of the Year, has moved into an extremely strong position in number 3. He could actually affect the outcome of this with 6 more months left to go on the U.S. Hobbit Association schedule.
Here's Jack Willman and Taurus.
This is a big, big night for Jack Willman, a course that he himself likes very much, and a chance for him to move up from his current number 2 position in the U.S. Hobbit Association Monster Truck World Point Standings. Racing against the clock for position in this qualifying round, the lightweight Chevy from Illinois.
Not the typical Jack Willman run.
That is a huge, huge shock. I would venture to say that that was a complete error in judgment at how to approach this track. The first man out, of course, always has it rough, but look at this launch. Very conservative in the power. Then he gets out of the throttle just before the hit, and every time you do that, you'll go into a bumper-dragging wheel stand. The truck comes down hard, bouncing so violently that it actually goes off the course, and Willman cannot be happy with that at all. Most drivers were expecting elapsed times in the 3-second zone on this short course. 6.96 seconds is going to keep Willman way down in this field.
Well, coming up next is going to be Barefoot with Fred Schaefer behind the controls.
The lightweight Chevrolet from Pontoon Beach, Illinois is easily one of the hardest running machines in the sport.
And Fred Schaefer really grabbing a lot of air.
You know, the last couple of events, Jerry, we've been talking about aggressive drivers. Fred Schaefer is about as aggressive as you get. The launch on that particular run, literally picking the front wheels up. Look at this thing, spinning the tires because the front end is going airborne. He also backed out of the throttle just a little bit before impact, and that's what caused the car, or truck, I should say, to go so high in the air. The elapsed time, though, 4.71 seconds is much more realistic.
Well, part of it is, though, Brett, because there's such a short span between the starting line and where the trucks have to back up against this wall. Now, here we see John Pyant with Bigfoot. Bigfoot currently is the point leader at this point of the point standings. And John Pyant getting his neck brace in place and getting ready to go. Now, watch, there's a very short distance between the starting line and actually where they hit those cars.
It's true. It's not unlike other courses we've seen this year, and it's very difficult. You want to keep the truck as low to the ground as possible to be able to apply power, or you want to use all your power on the start to literally try to jump the whole course.
All right, let's watch John Pyant now with Bigfoot. See how he does. Whoa! Much better until he hit the cars and then he went sideways.
That was the first serious aggressive attempt we've seen outside of Freddie Schaefer, and the landing was so rough that it caused Pyant literally to hook to the right. You see him giving everything he's got, full power, including up over the first car, but on this landing, the cars have not been crushed down yet. He bounces all over the place, but still, the elapsed time, 4.58 seconds. That will be good for the #1 spot, and I'll tell you, that gives an indication there's more left in that truck.
All right, coming up next, this is the Southern Hustler, Kevin Dabney doing the driving.
Recently moved to Florida, so he is the new home state hero now with one of the very few small block powered trucks. It's got a Chevy engine behind the driver. It's a lightweight entry, too. This thing can fly.
All right, Kevin Dabney, thumbs up. He's ready to go. Up, up. Still not one of the best ones.
I'll tell you, the initial impact point is giving these drivers problem, and to see Kevin Dabney back out of the throttle like that indicates that it's rougher than we thought. Kevin Dabney will normally drive it absolutely to the wall if he has to. He leaves the starting line under power, drops the throttle just a little bit before the cars to gauge his positions, and that puts the truck straight up and down, and that's where you're going to lose all your time. The landing was rough enough that he slid off the side of the cars as well, and amazingly just got out of the throttle, coasted through it, 7.14 seconds. But at least that should keep him in the field. I don't think he'll have any trouble getting knocked out of the program with that, Jerry.
Bigfoot, driven by John Pyant. This is a big, flat, bad blue Ford machine from St. Louis, and he's coming to the line, and he's got his hands full right now on this matchup right here coming up.
You know, the Bob Chandler team out of St. Louis, Missouri has been concerned recently about the engine that they're using in this truck. It is not the strongest motor they're capable of producing. They have 3 new motors going together for this truck that they swear will put it so far out in front, no one will touch it. But right now, John Pyant has to be concerned. He's giving up a sizable weight disadvantage to the Taurus Chevrolet, and for that matter, the Taurus truck, at least in qualifying, looked to be a little bit stronger.
There's one thing you got to remember, that this track that we're running on tonight is pretty short.
That's true, and that's what caused Taurus to qualify so far down in the field, #3. And indeed, if Willman can show the true power of this thing and get it to the ground, it will be a close race.
Jack Willman with Taurus, and this is what we call a racer monster truck.
A lightweight, high horsepower combination.
So this ought to be a dandy. All right, here we go. Both drivers about ready. The win.
An upset if there ever was one, and the fans can't believe their eyes. Both drivers with handling problems, but it almost looked like the whole shot was the difference. The big purple GMC goes to the final round.
Jack Wilman, and he is one happy man. Let's take a look now at the replay.
It looked like Torres got the whole shot that he needed. Beautiful power going into the first set of cars, but look at that rough landing. Man, I didn't realize from the other angle that it was quite that violent. Wilman did an incredible job just keeping that thing upright, and I don't honestly think he knew who won when he shut that thing down. In the other lane, John Pyatt was doing everything he could to keep the Bigfoot Ford straight after a sideways qualifying run. He gets sideways in the air. It lands sideways well short of the finish line. He also had trouble keeping it straight, but the big difference is that the blue Ford was second at the finish line.
Well, Kevin Dabney's machine is powered by an engine that is right behind the driver, sitting where the bed would be of the pickup truck.
It's an interesting combination, very unusual weight distribution on this truck, which causes it sometimes to be a real handful to drive. One thing's for sure, we talked about Fred Schaefer's aggressiveness in the barefoot Chevy. Let's face it, if Fred has to, he'll drive right over his opponent to win.
All right, both drivers coming to the line.
Dabney not quite sure where he wants to line this thing up. Interestingly, he's going very far to the inside of his lane. That's unusual, Jeff.
That's true. I'm going to find a little bit different strategy here.
Drivers use the crushed cars as a track surface, and they look for less holes, a little bit more metal to put some power to. Now Dabney appears to be satisfied.
Some of these theories, as you know, don't necessarily work out, though, the way some of these drivers plan it.
Dabney's got to try anything he can. He is the underdog here. Waiting patiently on the starting line, the crew's going to line him up one more time. I don't believe he's changed his mind again. Now he's going back over to the center of the lane. You know, Jerry, this could be the monster truck racing version of a drag racing burn down. He may just be doing this to play psychological games with Fred Schaefer.
That's true. There is some psychological effect coming up to the starting line. You'll notice now he's hanging back.
I think Kevin Dabney is just looking for an edge, something to throw Fred Schaefer's train of thought off. Boy, he is taking his time up there. I'm sure our event director, Jim Harris, has probably got him on the clock at this point.
All right, looks like we're ready to go. Barefoot takes it easily.
After all that, it looked like Dabney may have gotten the whole shot. But the crowd is more than happy with the fact that it will be Barefoot versus Torres in the final round. Watch Fred Schaefer's style here. Full throttle again, up the ramp. Wouldn't surprise me if Fred stayed in the throttle in the air. Comes down hard. He's taking a rough ride in the cockpit, but he gets the win, while Kevin Dabney could do nothing but watch. Again, strictly a matter of horsepower. Dabney left the starting line very well, but again, not near the power even to the first set of cars. A tremendous amount of air. That obviously hurt any chances he had of chasing down the powerful Chevy.
Both drivers very, very well attuned to their own machines. They know what to do if the machine acts a little strangely on the cars, coming off the cars. Jack Wilman with Torres just about ready to go. Fred Schaefer making his final approach now.
Maybe seeing a little more mind game playing on the starting line here as Jack Wilman looked like he was going up to stage, then nailed the throttle for a little quick burnout up to the cars. Fred Schaefer once again gets stuck sitting back at the starting line. So far, it hasn't seemed to have affected Fred Schaefer, any of the games that have been played against him. I should point out that the Torres team, with the crowd definitely behind it as you can hear, probably has more to gain here in this final than Schaefer, if only because they were so close behind the Bigfoot team, number 2 in points coming into this event. If they could win this, it could make a big difference in points.
These engines and these machines are very similar to that used in drag racing, and of course a lot of times the drivers will put them in neutral and clean those engines out. They want to make sure that they're absolutely ready to respond when they get the green light. Starting line personnel making sure that everything is lined up perfectly, because a lot is at stake with this race. Not only the prize money available tonight, but also the points.
You could not have asked for a prettier final round dash. Side by side off the line, side by side in the air. Fred Schaefer asks who won. And they tell him.
The crowd's going wild.
Obviously, it was close enough that Fred Schaefer had no idea who won. Look at this hit on the cars. Sheer power sailing this thing a full truck length over the finish line. That was the most brute power propelled run we've seen all night long. And another rough landing. He stops it right in front of the fans who are already going nuts. In the other lane, Jack Willman left the starting line dead even with the Barefoot Chevy. He also got it way up in the air. He lands right on the finish line as well, a rough bounce, but it was a matter of 4 feet at the finish line, making the difference between a winner and a loser. Fred Schaefer pulls it off in a big, big win. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We've got the winner of this monster truck war here in Orlando, Fred Schaefer, the driver of Barefoot. Fred, you didn't even know who won that final round, did you?
That's right. I was concentrating on the track conditions there and wasn't looking at all in the other lane and didn't really have time like that in a short course to look in the other lane. And I didn't know who won until they actually called me the winner.
Well, Fred, take a look at the monitor there and explain that.
Okay, I'm lining up here and I'm trying to hit the best spot I can pick here in the cars, and truck's flying a little bit crooked, and let's say I'm looking forward and trying to keep control of the truck and trying to stay out of the wall there. It's a little bit tight in there for shutdown, and see, at that time I didn't know who won there, like I said, and until they said that I was the winner. It was a real close race.
Well, we know you've got a busy schedule. Where are you headed for next?
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Well, congratulations again, Fred, on a great night of monster truck racing.
Tremendous job.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, Brett, before we leave, let's take another look at the point standings. First for the monster trucks.
Well, as we pointed out, things changed dramatically, but had Taurus won this event, they would have overtaken Bigfoot for the World Championship points lead. As it turns out, Bigfoot is still leading by the slimmest of margin, but look at the number 3 spot. Barefoot and Freddie Schaefer moves up to now seriously threaten the other 2 machines that are leading in the top 3. Chuck Hawkins' Excalibur, based on his performances recently, is hanging into the 4th spot, and Rob Morris in the 4-wheel Crazy Ford has moved back up to 5th. Rob Fuchs has dropped all the way from 3rd to 6th with the First Blood Ford. Jim Reese has dropped an equal number in the Ecology Eliminator.
Number 8 is High Voltage with 772 points, and number 9 is Hot Stuff, Todd Blazer. Then, rounding out the number 10 spot, the AM/PM Rocket.
Dale Boucher in the Rocket and Todd Blazer in the Hot Stuff machine making a lot of changes. The Rocket drops. Hot Stuff gets into the top 10 for the first time in the 1990 season. We'll be bringing you the action this time around from New England, the Centrum in Worcester, Massachusetts. And Jerry, at this point in the season, we're getting close to that World Championship finale, and things are getting pretty interesting.
That's right. We're going into the final part of the season. These machines have been dialed in. They're ready to go. It's going to be an interesting night tonight.
That's true. You won't see too many machines getting used to new equipment. At this point, everybody knows the name of the game, and it's just a matter of what the track is going to be like here at the Centrum. A sold-out crowd is ready to begin action. The AM/PM Rocket with youngster Dale Boucher behind the wheel. This kid is tough.
First qualifier in the AM/PM Rocket Chevy. Here's the green flag.
It's true. As the first man out, even though the cars were crushed during preliminary runs, he's still obviously concerned about where that truck's going to go. And if you watch, the Chevrolet from Los Angeles comes down with 1 bounce and gets a little sideways there. He powers out of it. Dale Boucher goes 4.81 seconds over the 75-foot course. That'll set the pace for this man, Jerry.
And it's John Pyant driving Bigfoot. Bigfoot still leading in the points series.
And he hesitates a little bit, Brett.
I'll tell you, that is a fairly rare occurrence in monster truck racing, but it looked like the car, or the truck, I should say, actually came down between 2 cars, and they spread out. That occasionally happens sometimes, and it'll definitely cause even Bigfoot to lose traction for a minute. Great hit sideways in the air, but there you see the cars start to spread out from underneath him. He spins the tires trying to get traction where there really isn't any.
Well, coming up next is Taurus with Jack Woolman, Granite City, Illinois, behind the controls. Taurus, of course, is Bigfoot's arch rival. run.
Unbelievable run. You called it right, Jerry. Torres is the biggest threat to Bigfoot's current World Championship points lead. Look at the starting line launch. Watch Willman in the cockpit. Takes a huge hit, nearly clears all 5 cars. He lands in a nosedive, goes across the finish line at 4.62 seconds, number 1.
Well, coming up next from Woodstock, Illinois, Rob Fuchs with First Blood. We talked to Rob a little earlier about some changes he's made in his truck.
Well, actually, it's a whole new truck this year. The truck itself is working pretty good. That new motor, I've had a chronic head leak problem with it since the day it's been put in, and I've been fighting it all year, but so far I've actually been doing pretty good with it.
Up high and comes down hard.
We talk about aggressive. Rob Fuchs obviously has something to prove here tonight. That was a sky-high hit on the first launch. You can see the truck leaving the starting line with an overabundance of power. When he hits the car, the rear tires are 5 feet off the ground. He takes it across the finish line at 6.10 seconds, putting her sideways. He spent a lot of time in the air on that one, Jerry. We should point out that with 5 vehicles in this round of competition, the quickest, as far as elapsed time is concerned, loser of this round will still get a chance to advance into the second round of competition. That will give us 4 vehicles in the semis and give our crowd a full show. But Willman is going to check out the track here.
Look at the intense look on his face. Wow! Came down hard.
I'll tell you, it was a pretty interesting situation where he took a nosedive into the last car. Willman has the power, if he so desired, to actually hit that first car and jump the entire course. Now, if there had been somebody in the other lane, I'm sure he would have been a little bit more aggressive. A somewhat conservative launch, but watch where this thing lands. Right in the last car. Still smooth in the cockpit, but like I said, you can bet if somebody's in the other lane, he'll be more aggressive, Jerry.
Oh, he's going to be ready for the next round.
Well, Reese's machine looked pretty strong in qualifying. We pointed out earlier that the reason the body is still in primer is because of a crash only a week ago. He had to do a tremendous amount of work to rebuild this truck to get here at the Centrum. But Rob Fuchs, as you pointed out, has had a few problems this year, Jerry.
Well, both of these drivers love to drive flat out. They hit that pedal and they are gone. Now let's watch this race. This ought to be a good one.
The crowd certainly likes the Ford versus Chevy aspect of it. Come from behind win, and that's something you never see on a short course, Jerry. That is brute power that won that for Jim Reese, the Ecology Eliminator. I'll tell you what, conservative had nothing to do with this particular run. Lots of air, but watch this landing. Look at Reese in the cockpit getting thrown all over the place while trying to keep the truck straight. He locks up the brakes. I'll tell you, though, he came around a huge hole shot by Fuchs. Let's look at it again. Going into the first car, Fuchs had an honest 5 feet advantage, but watch the Chevrolet passing him in the air and then going into that wild, wild landing. That is amazing.
Sometimes when they come down like that, you can break the front suspension, but Reese was lucky.
That's true. Even though they're using a lot of surplus military parts, you can still break it.
Uh-oh, here comes Bigfoot. John Pyan. The St. Louis Big Blue Ford truck is ready to do battle. And going up against him will be none other than the AM/PM rocket, again from California, Dale Boucher.
Boucher looked real strong in qualifying, considering the fact that he's relatively new to the National Event Tour, and he is touring on a full scale. He's going to a lot of cities. But, of course, John Pyan knows that with Paris in the next round, he's got to at least keep pace with the purple Chevrolet to keep the points lead. It's going to be a lot of pressure on Pyan.
Well, for those of you that are at home that follow our ESPN shows, Dale Boucher and Jim Reese are definitely 2 drivers to keep your eye on in 1991.
It's very true. They've got the work cut out for him, especially Boucher here. Idea who won that one. That was as close as you could possibly get, and I don't even think either driver has an idea of who won. Now, Boucher came from behind. It was John Pyan getting the hole shot. He used the Jim Reese technique of a lot of power in the air and came right up with Bigfoot at the end. We'll have to take a look from a side shot again to see exactly who did win this one. All right, the hole shot goes to Pyan. The finish line is about 3 feet from the end of the last car. Watch Boucher coming through the air. Boucher just gets him by a matter of inches, Jerry.
That's right. The official lists given us the word that the AM/PM Rocket is the winner.
Man, that's got to make John Payant feel low, especially when he knew he had to keep pace with Torres to keep that World Championship points lead. Boucher, on the other hand, scores one of the biggest possible upsets.
Tube chassis, super suspension, easier on the driver, and he'll be going against Jim Reese, the Ecology Eliminator.
Reese's machine, as we pointed out, still in primer paint because of a crash just a week ago that nearly destroyed the machine. It's a miracle Reese is even here tonight, Jerry.
Very tough on these drivers. You watch real close, especially when they get toward the finish line. Did you see the way Jim Reese, he was way up there.
I'll tell you what, it looked like the Ecology Eliminator may have scored one of the biggest possible upsets. I can tell you that the Taurus Chevrolet of Wilman actually lost the grill when it landed. It came down so hard. You want to talk about air. You want to talk about a serious side-by-side race. Watch this hit. Look how high this truck is in only a 75-foot course. Straight nosedive. Incredible bounce sideways. He manages to keep it somehow right side up. Absolutely incredible. And we've got the word, Jerry. It's official. The Ecology Eliminator wins and puts out Taurus in the very first round. Let's take another look at that from the side angle, Jerry. Look at the Ecology Eliminator passing Taurus in the air. Now watch the grill on the Taurus machine tears right out of the truck.
Unbelievable run. And these are two strong competitors and a surprise with Taurus going out in the first run.
Now, at this point, Jack Wilman knows he did what he had to do in trying to beat the Ecology Eliminator. He did not do it, and that sets the stage for a chance for Bigfoot to extend the points lead.
AM/PM Rocket, Dale Boucher.
Youngster from California with the silver and orange Chevrolet checking his lineup against the cars, and there's his opponent waiting patiently.
That's right, Bigfoot, John Payant behind the controls. The one to beat. Currently in the lead of the point standings, John Payant, Bigfoot.
He knows he's against a new, relatively inexperienced competitor. He knows he can extend his points lead. The Bigfoot team's got to be feeling pretty confident.
The AM/PM Rocket does it.
I don't believe it. The second straight upset. The top 2 points leaders are out in the first round. Once again, Bigfoot left the starting line, but once again, a California Chevy driver passes him in the air. Look at this launch. Look at where the tires land. Literally a truck length past the finish line. A tremendous bounce. The kid from California beats the biggest names in monster trucks.
Now, these two drivers came 3,000 miles to compete, and they want to win.
Oh, what an upset. There you see Dale Boucher with event director Bob Dwyer talking about the condition of the course as they get ready to go into the final round. Let's look at this again. Bigfoot in the lead at the hit of the first cars. Look at the Chevy passing him in the air, and on us 5 feet higher than Bigfoot. Absolutely unbelievable upsets here.
Incredible runs by these machines, and our two top machines are out of tonight's competition.
Final round of day number 2 of the 1990 Winter Eagles.
The AM/PM Rocket, Dale Boucher.
The kid comes through against one of the toughest machines in the business, and he is obviously elated. Getting out of the cockpit, stepping onto the tires, and saluting the crowd, I'm sure. What a job in a tough, tough final round. It looked like Reese left the starting line first again. We have seen a situation in 3 different races where the driver came from behind to win, even on a 75-foot course. Sideways airborne launch, coming down hard, but still under control. Dale Boucher did one heck of a job.
He surely did, and the crowd has loved this one.
The crowd has really been into this event, and rightfully so, with the incredibly close monster truck racing we've seen. Here we see Jim Reese in the Ecology Eliminator. He was an honest 4 or 5 feet ahead. Look at the Rocket pass him in the air. We've seen that happen so many times tonight. But indeed, the kid comes through with a come-from-behind charge to knock off Jim Reese. And again, Jerry, I want to point out that Jim Reese came back from a crash only 1 week earlier. It was amazing that he was here, let alone in the final round.
It's been a great night of racing. And in the monster truck division, here's Dale Boucher. Dale, this has got to be your best win ever.
Yeah, I come in the first round and lost against Bigfoot. And I was fortunate enough to come back as fast loser and came back in with Bigfoot again and beat him.
Now, when you came back after running Bigfoot the first time, did you approach it differently than the first round?
Yeah, I came in there with a little bit more faith, I guess I should say, and I managed to guess and got the whole shot on him and beat him.
Now, you're driving one of the heaviest trucks in the sport. Do you consider the weight a disadvantage?
Well, it's a disadvantage due to I'm only running a gas motor, and most of these light trucks are running alcohol, which are a lot faster, and with the loose dirt on the starting line, it's kind of hard to get the truck going, but it hooked up tonight.
Now, with Bigfoot and Taurus both going out early, you have to be looking at this as an open door to win the World's Points Championship.
Well, with my sponsors, AM/PM, Goodyear, Warren, and Rancho, we got a good truck, and I want to start beating some of these alcohol motors and showing the gas can do it.
I'm sure you can. Congratulations, guy.
All right.
Pretty amazing young man. And I'll tell you what, now in the monster truck points, certainly we saw a scenario that could actually give us a major upset at the end of the season. Taurus did move into the #1 spot because of his better qualifying position over Bigfoot here tonight, Jerry.
That's right, and Bigfoot now slips into the #2 spot. First time we have ever seen that happen all season. Barefoot goes into the #3 spot now.
Four-wheel crazy Rob Morris, the Texas Ford driver, has held on to one of the top 4 spots this year, but so far he has not slipped as far as we've seen him right now into the #4 spot. The Ecology Eliminator team, Jim Reese, moves into #5 with his performance here tonight. Chuck Hawkins in Excalibur is 6th. The First Blood Ford of Rob Fuchs, based on his qualifying here tonight, moved into 7th. The High Voltage Jeep of Jeff Paintner is 8th, and our winner here tonight got himself a top 10 spot. You see the AM/PM Rocket in the #9 position. That will certainly put young Dale Boucher up in the top 10. Evil Force, Ray Perkowski, is in the #10 position. And, Jerry, so far, like you said, we have not seen Bigfoot fall from that lead. What do you think that means? Are we going to see something really radical happen here at the very end of the year?
Well, it could. You know, they've been having problems finding drivers that have the consistency that some of these other drivers have been having throughout the year. And of course, consistency in any motorsport is what really brings the winners.
No question. And John Pyatt has shown that he is a great driver, but that particular truck has actually had more parts problems this year than we've ever seen any of Bob Chandler's machines have.
That's right. And again, that is keeps them from that consistency that they need to get into that winner's circle.
This time the action will be coming our way from Riverfront Coliseum in Cincinnati, Ohio. And Jerry, we're down to the last few events now in the 1990 championship season. Just a few weeks ago, we saw a points change in the monster truck race, and that new leader, Taurus, is here tonight.
That's right, and anything can happen. The racing is going to be hot and heavy tonight. They're all out to win, so let's get to the action.
Ray Perkowski out of St. Louis with the Evil Force Ford tow truck, and the man who just recently took over the points championship lead in the far lane, the Taurus Chevrolet of Jack Wilman. Now this will be solo runs for qualifying against the clock.
Well, Ray Perkowski definitely has a disadvantage on this particular night because his truck weighs 20,000 pounds.
Well, Perkowski obviously had problems on that run, Jerry. You could see the machine bog right after it left the starting line. He gets the first shot at the clocks. And the elapsed time for Ray Perkowski in the Evil Force, 5.12 seconds. Now, looking at the replay, you can see 22,000 pounds in the air. That high is a major accomplishment. But right there, I'm almost inclined, Jerry, to believe that his foot may have slipped off the throttle when he aimed it that hard.
Very possible. These drivers really get beat up inside of these machines.
And of course, Perkowski bouncing around a little bit, almost ending up in the mud pit. 48 inches of slime over there. That wouldn't have been too pretty.
Now take a look at Jack Wilman. This is Taurus, and this is the new breed of monster truck. This is built especially for racing. It weighs about 10,000 pounds, so you can see he's got a almost 10,000 pounds advantage over his Ray Perkowski. Whoa! Definitely not a Jack Wilman.
Boy, you got that right, and he is dejected. Boy, you can see the look on his face in the cockpit. Very seldom do we see Wilman have problems. And remember, this is the truck that just moved into the lead for the World Points Championship a few weeks ago. Straight up wheel stand, comes down sideways. Willman had no idea where he was. He actually had to stop and get his bearings, and then, of course, he realized that he had used up so much time. There was no point in continuing. The elapsed time, a disappointing 5.77 second run.
Well, here is Rob Morris. This is Four Wheel Crazy. We saw him first back in Anaheim, way back in our January show, and Rob has been progressing right along in the 1990 season. Definitely is a strong competitor, and moving up in the point series, and of course would like to win here again tonight.
Well, certainly Rob Morris was an upset winner in one of his first events ever at that Anaheim, California show, and he's managed to retain a position in the top 10 in the World Championship point standings throughout the season. He's been very consistent, Jerry.
Good run.
That's the way it's supposed to be done. Morris, amazingly, still trying to get a little higher than he normally does. He's very good at keeping the truck low to the ground and trying to get more power out of it. He gets a little high, the rear end swings around a bit. The elapsed time, though, excellent, 3.21 seconds. That'll put him in the #1 spot with the Texas-based Ford. Here's your #1 qualifier, though, Rob Morris out of Dallas, Texas, the Four Wheel Crazy. And I shouldn't say Dallas. He's actually from Fort Worth, or right in between there. But he's up against the heavyweight.
That's right, 20,000 pounds heavy. Evo Force, Ray Prokowski, is from St. Louis. Unbelievable height on that tow truck.
Isn't that incredible? 22,000 pounds, 15 feet in the air. And Rob Morris didn't have it that easy. He was mighty crossed up down at the finish line. It looked like Prokowski may have gotten a slight hole shot here, but watch on the right side of your screen, you want to talk about a sailing piece of equipment. Unbelievable. Now you see Rob Morris on the left doing a nosedive and a bounce with the rear end coming around to the right. It was a pretty wild ride for the #1 qualifier, but the Four Wheel Crazy goes to the next round.
Let's take another look at Four Wheel Crazy now. Rob Morris.
I think if you watch inside the cockpit, you'll also see Rob getting thrown around quite a bit on this landing. A little bit higher than he normally goes, but you see the rear end come around to the left and then back around to the right. That was a wild ride.
Oh, these monster trucks are so hard on these drivers. It's incredible.
You know, the safety equipment that these drivers have started to wear doesn't just include a helmet. It's kidney belts and everything else. It's a rough ride.
Alan Pizzo, the Predator, the blue truck on the far side, going against Jack Willman and Taurus.
Seen two Fords battle out. Now it's two Chevrolets side by side, but remember, where we would normally consider Taurus the overwhelming favorite in this matchup, he had problems in qualifying. He was dead last qualifier. The Predator actually has the advantage.
No question this time.
I have no idea what happened to Alan Pizzo. He never even left the starting line when the green flag was thrown. Jack Willman was ready with Taurus, and he showed that qualifying run was indeed a fluke. Look at this launch. He hits it, but keeps it low. Absolutely perfect form. It didn't go sideways one way or the other. It did come off the cars a little rough. You can see Willman getting thrown around in there, but there really wasn't anybody in the middle.
So it's Rob Morris, the Four Wheel Crazy, going to go against Jack Willman in the final.
You've been running neck and neck with Bigfoot in the point standings, and it really looks like you're going to take it away. Bigfoot's not here tonight, though. How do you feel about that?
Well, we sure wish he was here because, you know, we always like to run against the best. And if we take over the top spot, we want to do it against the top trucks. But, you know, if that's the way it's going to be, I'll take it.
Okay, now in the last race you were in, you had some problems with your truck. What went wrong?
Well, we had some problems. It was flying crooked in the air. When it leave the cars, it'd want to turn sideways on me. And when it would hit the ground, of course, it would hit the ground crooked. And after about the fourth time of doing that, well, I broke a wheel off. And, of course, we done quite a bit of body damage. And we kind of got it repaired fairly decent. Not as good as I would like it. But with the races being close together, you know, it's presentable anyway.
So how do you think you'll do tonight?
I feel like we're going to do pretty good. We've done some testing at home, and I think we got our problems worked out, and we'll find out tonight.
Well, good luck, Jack, and we hope everything holds together for you.
Well, thank you very much.
She also had the chance to talk to driver Rob Morris, driver of Four Wheel Crazy.
Rob, you've had a great season so far this year. You've stayed consistently near the top in the points standing. Now, there's a little something different about your truck. It's heavier than most of the trucks. Why is that?
Well, to me, a race truck has to be one that it has to stay together. We do so many shows throughout the year, and you don't have time to make any major repairs. My truck is heavier than some of the fast race trucks here, but then again, it's lighter than most trucks too. There may be a thing or two that I'd like to change sometime in the future, but this truck works well for the majority of the tracks that we run, so I'll probably leave it, like it is for a while.
Okay, Rob, tonight at this show, there's some really tough competition. Taurus is here. How do you think that you'll do against him?
Well, me and Jack have run several races together. They've been really close. We've had to review some of them, on tape, frame at a time. It's really a tough truck, but I'm just as tough. I think I'll do very well.
Well, it promises to be a great show tonight, and we wish you a lot of luck.
Thank you.
Now back to you, Brett.
Well, thank you, Kelly. And Jerry, you got to admit, this is going to be a war. Ford and Chevy and a points battle at stake.
The stage is set. Let's go to the action. Rob Morris, ready to go. Four-wheel crazy. The blue Ford truck and the Chevy truck, Taurus. Jack Willman behind the controls, ready to go.
Pretty strange evening for the purple Chevrolet from Granite City, Illinois, qualifying dead last in the field, but then showing us that he always had the power.
This should be a good race. Those of you sitting at home watching, who do you think is going to be the winner? This is going to be close.
Rob Morris already pointing out he thinks he's tougher than Taurus, the points leader. Let's see.
Chevrolet against Ford.
You couldn't ask for a wilder landing than that. Jack Willman keeps it upright and takes the win. And the Taurus machine being handed the checkered flag, and the crowd loves it. Watch the right side of your screen. Willman got the whole shot. Look at this landing, literally in the mud pit, through the finish line pole, sideways again, and he keeps it upright. Incredible.
The finish line pole actually going over the whole truck and rolling across the hood.
Incredible. Absolutely amazing job by Jack Willman. Here was Rob Morris in the other lane. He apparently took the conservative approach, keeping it relatively low to the ground. After going airborne a couple of times, he also gets sideways in the air. Now, it's very interesting that Jack Willman said that he was trying to correct the problem of the truck getting sideways in the air, Jerry, but it did it again.
It certainly did, and that's going to be a difficult problem to solve.
Especially if it gets that out of control when it's in the air. But Jack Willman pulls it off with an incredible victory from the dead last starting position here at the Riverfront Coliseum. And indeed, that will give Willman a big boost in the World Points Championship. The winner of one of the wildest shows ever, Jack Willman, is on the floor. What happened in qualifying? You were dead last.
In the qualifying, when you draw the number one or two spot, where the cars ain't so smashed down, you kind of save your truck for the later on in the event, and most generally, Brett, as you know, as you watch me, if I draw a number one or two, I won't go too hard on qualifying. I'll try to save the truck for the tougher competition.
On the first round, you had the right lane of competition. You ended up in the left lane in the final. Why?
Well, I didn't have a lane choice. That's one of the things whenever you back off on qualifying, that you don't get a lane choice. Your opponent gets lane choice. But, sometimes in different situations, I don't worry about that because I figure the truck can handle any lane I put it in.
Now, we've seen you in some pretty wild positions, Jack, but in the final round, that truck almost got away from you. You have to admit that.
Yes, it sure did, Brett. It was pulling it picked the left front wheel and pulled to the right on me is what it did.
Now, you seem to be paying more attention to your starting line reactions recently, almost like a drag racing standpoint where the whole shot is all that matters. Is that true?
That's exactly right, and we just put a new transmission in it because at the last event, we wasn't getting out of the hole. As a matter of fact, we figured we lost 2/10 in the hole. And 2/10 don't sound like much, but in these short drag racing type deals, that's quite a bit. So we put a new transmission in it, and of course, you could tell it was lifting the left front wheel on it. So you could see the transmission was hooking up, and we wasn't losing so much time out of the gate.
Jack, we have a monitor down there on the floor right in front of you. Look at the monitor and tell us about this wild final.
Okay, yeah, you can see it, the left front wheel come up and it goes to the right. And then I just started trying to correct it from that point. And of course, it made a pretty good landing, you can see, and I just kind of kept it under control, you know, and give it some gas, and they pulled out of it. Of course, I kind of ended up in the mud pit there a little bit, which I didn't really want to do. Got to wash your truck now.
It is absolutely amazing to me how you can sit there and watch that and say, yeah, it was under control. Didn't it feel like it was starting to get away from you when it was in the air? It almost had to.
No, it didn't. You know, I've been doing this for 11 years and kind of get used to it, I guess. You know, somebody knew it would have probably concerned them quite a bit, Brett.
Well, heck of a job tonight. I know you want to win the World Championship. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much, Brett. I'm looking forward to doing that.
In monster truck racing points, we've got a leader that's held on, Jerry.
That's right. Taurus, number 1. Bigfoot, number 2. And Fred Schaefer in Barefoot, number 3.
Rob Morris, the four-wheel Crazy Ford, with his runner-up performance here tonight, ends up 4th, hanging on to a top 5 spot. Jim Reese in the Eliminator is number 5.
In the number 6 position, Rob Fuchs, First Blood, the AM/PM Rocket, number 7. Excalibur, number 8.
Ray Perkowski in the Evil Force tow truck, because of his qualifying effort here tonight, got 9th, and Jeff Maynor in the high-voltage Jeep hangs on to the number 10 position. We'll be bringing you the action this time around from the Baltimore Arena in Baltimore, Maryland, with only 3 events left on the 1990 championship schedule, Jerry.
The season is fast coming to a close, and we've got some new leaders.
That's true. Right now, the monster truck war should be interesting here tonight, if only because we've got the hottest young driver on the national tour right now, Dale Boucher in the AM/PM Rocket from California, our last winner. About ready. Solo runs in qualifying.
He almost ran into the mud pit.
It would be a sloppy way to start the event off, but he also got in and out of the throttle before he ever hit the cars. It is an absolute amazement to me to get 22,000 pounds of Ford as high in the air as he does. The elapsed time on the run, 5.88 seconds. That will be the mark to beat, and here's Jim Reese.
Jim Reese doing a great job, boy. He just puts the pedal down.
This machine obviously substantially lighter than the tow truck. Look at this thing effortlessly in the air, sideways in the air, I might add. That was an interesting landing and a great job on the throttle of powering out of that. The elapsed time for the Eliminator, 4.13 seconds.
Over the last few months, but I think he's got that problem corrected now.
A home-built truck, giving thumbs up to the starter and leading on a solo.
Good run.
Taking some interesting bounces out there. The First Blood Ford puts the strain on his driver. Watch Fuchs in the cockpit. I'm going to talk about spinal compression. That is a rough way to go. The elapsed time, 3.74 seconds for Fuchs.
Dale Boucher.
That kid is something, isn't he? I'll tell you what, I have a feeling that may have been even better than the First Blood Ford attempt. Hitting the cars beautifully, still getting sideways in the air. There may be a problem with that first car sending those trucks crooked. The elapsed time, 3.39.
Well, here's Rob Morris. He's from Fort Worth, Texas, four-wheel crazy. He's got some real competition there with Fred Schaefer.
I'll tell you, Rob Morris was the very first winner of the year in the 1990 U.S.HRA Association Series, an upset in Anaheim, California. He is still ranked in the top 10 in the World Championship points chase with his Texas Ford.
A good run with Rob Morris.
No question. 2.91 seconds. He puts it under 3 seconds flat and takes the number 2 spot behind Freddie Schaefer again. We've got 2 different techniques here. Jump the whole course or keep it low to the ground and try to give it more power.
From Woodstock, Illinois.
Last year's Rookie of the Year, who is, as you pointed out, Jerry, had problems with cylinder heads this year, is up against the driver who has a chance to change the World Championship points lead if he can do well enough here tonight, Fred Schaefer in the incredible lightweight supercharged Chevy known as Barefoot.
Fred drives with his foot, real heavy. As we just saw it, and he loses something there.
Yeah, I don't even know exactly what that is rolling down the track. Possibly part of an inner wheel. I'll have to check it on the slow motion. You think this guy is aggressive? That's a tire off one of the crush cars that went sailing out of there. You don't think he's aggressive? That's aggressive. Absolutely no contest against Rob Fuchs. Remember, Taurus is leading the World Championship points race. Bigfoot is in the top 4. Barefoot could knock them both down. Rob Fuchs gave it everything he had, no question about it. Beautiful picture, perfect lead, just about landing at the finish line. Unfortunately, the blue Chevy was a truck length ahead. and it's going to take a serious amount of power to threaten her.
Notice both of them are taking the inside of both of their lanes.
Could make it awfully sloppy if they end up in the mud pit.
It's the AM/PM rocket getting there first.
A dead even starting line launch. There was no driver that got a hole shot of any size there, but it looked like just simply the weight of Perkowski's one-of-a-kind tow truck that kept him from making a race of it. Again, a picture-perfect jump, but you can see right there a half-truck advantage at the finish line poles. Perkowski, in the meantime, was doing everything he could. And again, I'll stress that to get 22,000 pounds of Ford tow truck this high in the air takes some horsepower, no question about it.
If Perkowski can lighten that truck up, he's going to be a terror on the circuit.
Even that motor in a lightweight truck would do some serious damage. Well, certainly Boucher has got to think that he's got the confidence, based on his win in Worcester, Massachusetts, to annihilate this guy that won Anaheim. But Rob Morris has also got to know, on the other hand, that there's a young kid in the other lane who wants to win everything in the world, and he can put a stop to it. He's already been in the winner's circle earlier this year. It'll be interesting to see how he handles it. Two completely different approaches here, Jerry.
Well, Rob Morris definitely is becoming more and more experienced as the season goes on, and he's going to be a strong contender as we go into the finals of this year, but also next year.
He's hung in the top 10 in points all year long.
Oh, is that close?
I sure wouldn't want to have to pick a winner. Luckily, we've got electronic finish line judges. And indeed, that was as close as it gets. Rob Morris did not gain any significant starting line advantage on the youngster from California. He drifted away from that low technique he was using. He nailed those cars. They landed evenly, but we've just received word that the four-wheel crazy Ford is the winner. And if it was by mere inches, Jerry.
That was a tough one to call. Of course, they have videotape cameras at the finish line, and the judges can review the finish of each of these races.
Now, the heavier of the two machines, the AM/PM rocket didn't lack any airspace here. He was way up there, rough landing, and again the front end coming down right at the finish line, almost into a nosedive. But Boucher did not win.
Bottom line is that high jump over the cars could have cost him the race.
That's very true, and both of them that high. That's probably what made it that even.
Fred is from Pontoon Beach, Illinois.
Both machines supercharged, fuel-injected burning alcohol. Like I said, a big difference in vehicle weight. The Ford substantially heavier than the Chevrolet. But as you pointed out, Jerry, anything can happen.
Ford and Chevy battle, and the crowds always love the finals when they're a Ford and Chevy battle.
Plus, as we pointed out, the Ford driver wants to get back in the winner's circle after 9 months out of it. The man in this blue Chevrolet wants the World Points Championship lead, and he could do it with a win here.
Thumbs up, here we go. Red Schaefer, he does it, barefoot.
The crowd loves it. You could see a slight hole shot for the Ford driver, but it was no match for the brute horsepower of this machine. Take a look at the replay of the winning run. Fred Schaefer goes back to his original technique of keeping it low to the ground. I would bet probably because he knew that Rob Morris knew how to use that technique very, very well. On the brakes hard, obviously he was well out in front. Morris, on the other hand, used the technique that we saw in the semifinal round where he put the truck just flat into orbit rather than keep it low to the ground. Jerry, you almost have to wonder if he kept it low, would he have been able to pull it off?
There's our winner, power sliding it around, Fred Schaefer, and the crowd loves it.
No one is more of a showman than this man. And obviously, a lot of that showmanship right now comes from sheer elation. He is thrilled with what has transpired at this event, as he will now walk out of here the #1 man in the World Championship points lead.
Well, that means now that we've had three drivers have the lead.
for in the USHRA Association point standings in 1990.
That's right. Bigfoot led the World Championship Series for an honest 6 months. We saw Jack Willman and Taurus come in and lead for a little over 1 month, and now Fred Schaefer has taken the lead from them. You have to wonder, Jerry, with 2 more events remaining now, just 2 events in the World Championship Series out of 64, what's going to happen in those last 2 events? We've also got Freddie Schaefer, the driver of Barefoot, down on the floor. Fred's got to feel pretty good to get back in the winner's circle again.
Great. It's a good hook and track, and everything went well.
And we've got a monitor in front of you as well. Why don't you take us through that winning run down there?
Okay, we're lining up here, taking off, and a real good bite. I picked out a good place on the cars, and it's flying a little bit crooked, but kept my foot in the gas and stayed on it, and it pulled it right out of it. And it was a good hook and track. Very good dirt.
Well, this particular victory has got to make you a real factor in the World Championship points lead right now.
This is my 8th consecutive win, and I'm doing real good.
Certainly are, Guy. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, as far as monster truck racing goes, there it is. The change that we knew it was going to happen. Fred Schaefer's Barefoot does just barely get in ahead of Taurus. We've got a new leader for the World Championship. Rob Morris's four-wheel crazy is 3rd. Bigfoot is down to 4th. And First Blood is number 5. Rob Fuchs still hanging on to a top 5 spot there, Jer.
In the second half of the top 10, the Eliminator, number 6, Evo Force, number 7, the AMPM Rocket, number 8, Excalibur, number 9, and High Voltage, now number 10.
So 2 major changes there in that the Eliminator gets knocked down a spot. The AMPM Rocket of Dale Boucher moves into the top 10 with his upset victory here tonight.
Hi again, everyone. I'm Scott Douglas. Welcome to the magnificent Silver Dome in Pontiac, Michigan, where the superstars of monster truck racing are ready to get it on in side-by-side competition today in the Silver Dome. First, though, we've got to set the field, and we'll do that in qualifying as Jackie Willman brings Taurus onto the track to set down the first time. Wow, did he bang it at the end of the run. Jackie Willman and the Taurus GMC laying down a shot. Let's watch him again as he hits the cars, and look at the air Taurus gets here. Wow. Jackie Willman laying down a time in Taurus, and that time is going to be a tough one to beat at 12.87 for Jackie Willman and the Taurus GMC. Boy, what a great run. The legendary Bigfoot Ford is next up out of St. Louis, Missouri. Here is Andy Brass, ready to try and beat Taurus's time. And certainly in a lot of U.S. hot rod events, Bigfoot and Taurus have waged quite a war, quite a rivalry, and Brass would love to best his time right here. So Bigfoot next to go on the clock. Whoa, look at that front wheel come up, but he's okay, a good turn. Now Bigfoot will try to take it out well. A lot of air for Andy Brass, and Bigfoot shuts her down, but did he get quick enough to beat Taurus? We'll find out. Let's watch the replay, and again, you'll see the unique suspension, the state-of-the-art design, the cantilever suspension of the Bigfoot Ford, and how each wheel reacts differently when it comes down. Then watch when he goes to the brake, the front end really drops down. He did not beat Taurus's time. You saw it right there, about a second behind Jackie Willman's run. So Taurus remains number 1 in the qualifying round here at the Silver Dome in Pontiac, Michigan. Well, next up to go against the clock in monster truck action, you're going to get a look at this very unique truck. This is Evo Force and Ray Prokarski from Florissant, Missouri. Well, that wrecker kind of made the turn, and here comes the big Ford for home. Man, look at the air underneath Evo Force. That's one of the heaviest trucks in monster truck racing. Ray Prokarski. Let's watch it again on the replay. Here he comes, and he's got that Ford with that wrecker arm on the back of it off the hill. And when he hits the cars, he really gets some air. Look at how high Evo Force is. And he's not like some of the lighter trucks. Again, a lot of weight on this truck. And a 15.12, not a bad run at all. Well, here's Gary Porter in the Carolina Crusher, another of the state-of-the-art trucks with the cantilever suspension and all the extra shocks, all the suspension travel that allows him to settle that truck down, to really take the hard hits. And not only does the truck handle it better, it's much easier on the driver. At least the drivers will tell you that these kind of suspensions and the way they react to the bumps take a much easier toll, much less of a toll on the driver themselves. Boy, Porter's in trouble. He seemed to completely lose power in between the hill and the cars, and that is a run I'm sure he's not happy with at all. Wait, Taurus is one of the newer trucks, one of the state-of-the-art trucks. Here's one of the old guard, the original Mad Dog. The Breen boys out of Jefferson City, Missouri, John Breen and the Mad Dog Chevrolet, one of the first Chevy monster trucks ever. Look at him dance around that turn. Hold on, John. Again, the Mad Dog had a lot of trouble with the turn. Let's see if he can get her straightened out and finish the run. Boy, the Mad Dog Chevrolet, and I'll tell you, this is really a testament to where the new trucks are, in opposed to an older truck like Mad Dog. This truck was built a lot more for straight line racing than trying to make turns, and indeed, that turn cost Mad Dog severely. It figures to be the slowest time of this qualification round, and that certainly means he'll have a tougher draw in the first round of side-by-side racing. Again, on the replay, Mad Dog comes up, gets some air, and hits that stack of cars, but by then, he had lost so much time in the turn that he was going to be destined to the worst qualifying run of them all. Micro Machine and Evil Force set to go. Evil Force again is Ray Porkowski out of Florissant, Missouri. As we mentioned earlier, this is one of the heavier trucks. Micro Machine, one of the newer trucks on the circuit. Kurt Fisher out of Missouri. The big advantage of the turn is the Micro Machine, but now Evil Force is making up ground. And Micro Machine in a little trouble, had to get on the binders. Evil Force has the lead coming to the cars. He's got the win, and he also takes out the finish line. Wow! Evil Force goes right through the poles that hold up the finish tape. Nonetheless, the victory will go to Ray Porkowski and Evil Force. Let's watch the end of that run again. And look, he gets a little bit cockeyed, and bang, here he comes for the finish poles. And guess what? They lose. The monster truck comes through. Evil Force gets the victory. Now the Carolina Crusher will come out to take on Bigfoot. Gary Porter out of Wadesboro, North Carolina, and the Carolina Crusher Chevrolet. Now these two trucks, Bigfoot with Andy Brass and Carolina Crusher with Gary Porter, have very, very similar chassis designs, very similar in the shock setup, in their suspension travel. So let's see who's able to get the victory in this matchup of state-of-the-art machines. Bigfoot with a big edge to the turn. And coming for home, it is all Bigfoot. Andy Brass lets it out the back end, and the win goes to the Bigfoot Ford out of St. Louis, Missouri, grabbing the victory again on the replay. Here comes Bigfoot over the hill, and you can see Andy Brass put the hammer down and take it right into your living room. Bigfoot gets the win over Carolina Crusher. So Foot will advance now. Bigfoot, the big Ford out of St. Louis, Andy Brass behind the wheel. Ken Deppy will drive the Whiskey Business Chevrolet out of Jefferson City, Missouri. Almost a wheel stand at the start for Bigfoot. Brass coming up with a lot of momentum. Whiskey Business makes the turn in good shape, though. They're pretty even as they come off the hill. Bigfoot takes the victory as Deppy's in trouble at the end of the run. Ken Deppy was in this thing until he got to the cars, but lost it heading up the ramp to the cars, and Andy Brass soars to victory. Here it is on the replay. Watch the big blue Ford hit the cars and explode into the monster truck final, where he will go head-to-head with Taurus. You talk about your main event, any place, any time. Bigfoot and Taurus is the marquee showdown, and you're going to see it in the final a little bit later. That big blue truck out of St. Louis, Missouri, the Bigfoot Ford and Andy Brass. These two guys have been warring all over the country. Wherever the U.S. Hot Rod Association goes, you can bet Taurus and Bigfoot are going to be near the head of the pack. And when they go side by side, it is truly one of the most exciting matchups in monster truck racing. And here it is for all the marbles. Even going into the turn. They're still even. It's going to be decided on the final set of cars. Oh, my, I can't tell who won it. Bigfoot's in trouble. Into the wall. The Bigfoot Ford has smashed into the wall of the Pontiac Silverdome. But did he do it in victory or in defeat? We still have not determined. Look at this isolated replay on the Bigfoot Ford. Brass got in trouble as the back end flipped way up, and then when it came down, it sent him flying. He almost went end over end, does a great job to save the truck, but bang, into the wall of the Pontiac Silverdome. In the other lane, Jackie Willman in the Taurus GMC came off the hill way too high, and it cost him a little bit of time. then he tried to hammer it out the other end. He, too, almost got in trouble. Did you see the nose of the truck almost kiss the concrete? Incredible. We're going to get another replay, and this angle should show us who got the victory. Watch for the finish line, and indeed, there it is, your winner.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Rosemont Horizon in Chicago, Illinois, for the 7th annual U.S.HRA Association Camel Mud Racing and Monster Truck National Points Final. I'm Brett Kevner, and along with Jerry Devine, we'll be bringing you the action from what Jerry is basically turning out to be a war. We've already seen the super modified mud title wrapped up, but it's the monster truck battle that's going to go down to the wire.
You can better believe that. There's only 4 points separating Jack Willman and Fred Schaefer. We talked to them a little bit earlier, and let me tell you, they're just about at each other's throats.
That's true. With Barefoot and Taurus going at it neck and neck here, the final event of the year is the one that's going to determine the championship, and earlier Jerry had a very interesting conversation with the 2 drivers involved.
We're with the 2 fellas that have been chasing each other all over the country the entire season. Door handle to door handle, fender to fender, and tonight it's worth $50,000. Fred Schaefer with Barefoot. Fred, you're 4 points away from winning tonight over Jack Willman. How's it going to go?
Tonight's the night I've been waiting for about a year now. And it's all going to come down to tonight. We're going to try and put Jack on a trailer early.
You really want Adam, don't you?
I want him. I've been waiting a year for this.
Well, Jack, how about it? You going to let him have it?
Well, I think if he wants it so bad, why should we even qualify? Let's just match up the first round right off the bat and don't even worry about the qualifying, and we'll see who puts who on the trailer.
Hey, I took this lead over with 11-point winning streak, 11 wins in a row, and I'm going to show him tonight what Barefoot's made out of.
How about it, Ford?
Half of them 11 wins where he had to run 3 trucks in a race, and there wasn't none of them competitors for him, but I sure in the heck wasn't there.
He was at 5 of those races. He don't remember that.
It's going to be intense. We're going to find out on the track in just a few moments.
But here's the man who is shooting for a world championship, Fred Schaefer and Barefoot.
And Fred is ready to go. Let's watch him now. This truck really launches. Look at this. Fred Schaefer just flipping that last car.
Man, that was a rough landing. He's getting thrown around in there. Now full throttle again over the second set on the back straight. He's getting a little more conservative now. Whoa!
Whoa.
I thought he was.
One more time. Up, up, and over. He clears them all.
That's incredible. With only about 50 feet of approach, he clears 5 cars. Here, look at the pylon. You touch that pylon, you'll be disqualified. He just barely misses it on 2 wheels and comes back down the front straight. Barefoot at 17.33 seconds on a rough landing will take over the #1 spot.
All right, here comes Ray Perkowski now with Evil Force from St. Louis.
Perkowski is in the top 8 in the World Points Championship despite never having won an event this year, Jerry, but he's had 5 runners-up.
A real heavy machine. Okay, we're heading for that first turn. Whoa!
Oh, I thought he was going to go over. Well, he drives into the mud pit wall, and that's going to slow him down, obviously. He'll have to back up, realign himself with the cars, and that's going to put him way back in the pack. I'll tell you, it looked like Perkowski lost his bearings coming off the first set of cars. Didn't even know where that turn was.
He sure did.
Yeah, now he realizes that, of course, he's pretty much thrown any chance of qualifying in the top half right out the window, so he'll just idle it around and save the equipment for the first round of competition. You got to hand it to this guy, though. Like I said, without a single victory this year, he still is in the top 8 out of some 60 monster trucks, Jerry, that competed in this Camel U.S.HRA Association World Title Series. Look at this thing. Up on 2 wheels, and at that point, he doesn't have any idea where he is.
Wouldn't have taken much more, and he'd have gone right over on his side. Well, here's First Blood. Rob Hughes from Woodstock, Illinois. Rob is a strong competitor.
He has to be physically strong to withstand that kind of landing. He is thrown around in the cockpit, straightens it out beautifully, though. Now, again, he gets a little conservative. Hughes has been in 6 finals this year, including 1 win. He's got his own fan club here tonight, too, there.
A little different driving style. You notice how he kind of hangs out the window a little bit.
Well, the 1989 Rookie of the Year. He is extremely aggressive. There's no question about it. The elapsed time for First Blood, 18.29 seconds. Right in front of his fan club there. Obviously, they are happy with his performance. Here you see, he's about the first one, Jerry, we've seen, been able to keep all 4 wheels on the ground on those turns.
Good job of driving.
Of course, his launches are legendary.
All right, coming up next, Jack Willman and Taurus.
It's going to be interesting to see, Jerry. If Willman decides to go for broke or to try and pair up with Barefoot in the very first round, and he's not pushing it.
No, this truck is capable of a lot more than this.
I'll tell you, it takes absolute guts to come out here and run at half throttle just so you can pair up with Barefoot in the first round. He's going to have to run somewhere around 17.7, 17.8 seconds, I think, to qualify number 5 or number 6 where he wants to be. The elapsed time on the run will be coming up shortly. Here you see him lifting that left front wheel around the turn. But again, very, very easy round. And here's the elapsed time, 17.83 seconds. It'll be interesting to see if that lines up against Barefoot.
Well, here's John Pyatt and Bigfoot. Bigfoot's currently in the third in the point standing.
Wow, aggressive launch for John Pyatt. Of course, vehicle owner Bob Chandler's here tonight. You always got to do well in front of the boss.
Boy, these turns are something else.
Hey, he puts it up on the wall of the mud pit and then sideways over the last set of cars. And I'll tell you, that's an interesting way to go around here. It's turning into such a war. Look at this thing. The left front wheel, 3 feet off the ground. The 3 top drivers, certainly John Pyatt, Fred Schaefer, and of course Jack Wilman and Torres, they're just going after each other. The elapsed time for Bigfoot ends up being 17.67 seconds, and that'll be good right now for the number 4 spot.
The Eliminator, Jim Reese, coming all the way from Buena Park, California.
Now, Reese has had 4 victories in 11 final round appearances this year. This Chevrolet is strong.
Notice how they got to manipulate those rear wheels in order to make these short turns.
I'll tell you, that's the smoothest run we've seen, Jerry. That thing was just on rails all the way around. The mark to beat was Barefoot at 17.33 seconds. We'll wait for the numbers. Look at how smooth he was, Jerry.
Comes down kind of hard, but he gets it good time, though.
Jerry, this is the first time we've seen this circular course used where both trucks will line up facing each other. It's 1 lap around the course with a common finish line counterclockwise. Rob Morris and the 4-Wheel Crazy, by the way, we just received word that the Camel people have awarded him Rookie of the Year honors for 1990, and deservedly so.
All right, a good even start. You notice how they are both running the course at the same time with a common finish line.
Finish line is right there, right in the middle of the crush cars. They are halfway through. It's 1 lap. Now they come around the last turn and they race to the finish line head on. Who's it gonna be?
Oh,
man, that was too close to go. What a race.
Very close.
Wait a minute. It looked like Rob Morris may have had brake problems. I think he hit the wall, Jerry.
Let's take another look. Whoa, man. Boy, did he hit that.
You could just barely see that at the end of the course. There's another angle. As he lands after the finish line, we still haven't determined an official winner yet. Blam, man, he hits that wall. And we just got word he was the winner in that round, so he's got his work cut out for him.
Oh, I don't know if he's going to be able to make it back or not. Well, here's Bigfoot, John Pyatt. Big blue truck from St. Louis. He'll be going against another St. Louis entry, Ray Perkowski with Evil Force.
Now, Bigfoot, the number 4 qualifier. Perkowski, you remember, had problems in qualifying and finished number 8 in this 8-truck field of qualifying, lining up ever so carefully. The crewman, by the way, with the radio transceiver has a kill switch. He can shut the truck off anytime he wants.
Okay, right now it's an even race. Let's watch it now at the halfway mark. Looks like Bigfoot might have gone a little wide. So did Perkowski.
And Perkowski has problems. Yeah, you can see it looked like the rear wheels actually broke. And Perkowski is up against the berm, the same place he ran into problems in qualifying. And now under rules on this new course, John Pyatt must wait for the lane to be cleared to complete his lap. You can see event director Tina Kelly holding him up, saying, all right, we have a block lane. You must hold until we determine the problem. Now watch the rear wheels. I swear I saw that the rear wheels actually were aimed at each other. He goes out of view, but when he comes back in, I'm almost inclined to believe he broke the rear end assembly. No, they're still okay there. There they go. Yeah, aimed in towards each other in a V. He broke the entire rear end of that truck. And there you see John Pyatt finally makes it back around as they got Perkowski off to the side. He will go into the semifinal round, and with the amount of Bigfoot fans here, that's making the crowd happy.
Oh, Brett, look what we got now. Taurus, Jack Wilman. And he'll be facing none other than Fred Schaefer in Barefoot.
Isn't it amazing that we have gone through some 60 events this year, yet the World Championship battle comes down to one run. Now, the way this works, Jack Willman, remembering, intentionally qualified against Barefoot to make it in this first round pairing. Barefoot must win this race to automatically become the 1990 Camel World Champion. If Barefoot loses, Jack Willman must go on to win the event in Taurus for him to win his first World Championship. And Jerry, as you showed at the beginning of the show, these guys really do not like each other. This isn't a fake rivalry. There's no love between these two.
That's right. And you know what's more amazing yet is that these two are from the same city in Illinois.
Yeah, a little town of Granite City across the Mississippi River from St. Louis. And for 60 events, they have traveled across the country only to race each other, and they live 3 miles from each other.
They won't even eat in the same restaurant.
It's amazing. It is amazing, the rivalry between these two. And I don't know exactly what's going on here, but it almost looks like we've got the monster truck version of a drag racing burn down here. I don't think either driver wants to be the first to stage up.
Look at here. Jack Willman is climbing out of the truck.
I wonder if he's not having mechanical problems or if he's just trying to play a psychological game here. Sitting on the door, just waiting for Schaefer to line up. And now he's telling Schaefer, get that thing on the line.
Oh, look at the look in his eyes.
I'll tell you what, this is, like I said, this is no joke. This is a serious rivalry, a $50,000 battle. And now he's nodding his head.
Put the mouthpiece in.
Yeah, he's not happy. He doesn't want to play any games.
Oh, if looks could kill.
Yeah, Fred Schaefer is in the same frame of mind. Oh, what a way to end the season. What a way to determine a world champion. Now, Schaefer isn't even staged up yet. He hasn't moved.
All right, here we go. For $50,000. Good even run.
They're dead even going into that first turn. Schaefer goes wide, but so does Doris. Schaefer sideways, loses a lot of ground, but Willman comes down hard. And they're even again at the last turn. Here they come.
Schaefer goes wide. I think he's into the wall. Taurus wins. Taurus wins. All right, now let's take a look at the second half of the race. This is going into the second turn. It looks like Fred Schaefer right here got out of it just a little bit. And this is what cost him the race because Jack Willman stayed in it. Look at this. Jack Willman on his last turn comes on and he hits the pedal, flies over the car, clears over the entire cars. I thought he was going to hit the wall, but he brings it to a stop. Jack Willman with Taurus takes the win.
You were busy, Jack, over here plowing into a nosedive on the last jump. Freddie Schaefer drove right into the wall under power over there, and it was side by side. You didn't have an advantage at that point.
No, there was no advantage. It's really slick down here. Of course, a lot slicker than it is at the other end. Of course, I thought, I was going to get the wall, and actually, I thought probably I was going to lose the race because of this.
Freddie Schaefer obviously not very happy.
All right, Fred Schaefer going around, finishing the course.
What is going on is that Fred Schaefer is finishing the lap so that he gets a losing place in the first round. He is finishing the lap so that he officially finished the run. All he had to do was cross over his finish line, and he did. He officially crossed over the run there after hitting the wall. Now, like we said, the way it works out officially is if he had beaten you, he would... All right, one more time. Had Barefoot beaten you, he would have won the World Championship outright. Now, you have to win the event. You must go to the final and win. If you get runner-up, you'll lose the World Championship by 1 point. If you win the event, you will win the World Championship by 1 point. And if you didn't hear me already, you've got a certain blue Ford in the next round. You will have to race Bigfoot.
Oh, is that who I got? I didn't know who I have, but I got the first 2 steps. I had to qualify so I could beat him, and then I had to put him away. We got through them 2, now we'll worry about the next 2 steps. All I can do is just try and hope.
Even though that was the toughest battle, like I said, this is far from over, Guy. It's still a war.
Oh, that's right. And, these 2 trucks that I got to come up against, they're running awful good.
It's going to be incredible. Good luck, and congratulations on getting over that hurdle.
Thank you.
Final heat of the first round coming up. It's the Eliminator with Jim Reese from Buena Park, California, going against the AMPM rocket, Dale Boucher. A good even start between the two trucks coming around the first turn.
And remember, the Eliminator was your #1 qualifier, so he's got the power, but it looks like Boucher has the advantage, Jerry.
It's close. It's going to be close at the finish line. He goes wide. Whoa!
It looks like he spun out. Here comes Reese going into his last turn, and there's the rocket up into the mud pit. And again, we've got a situation where the event director, Tina Kelly, will hold up the Eliminator, while Dale Boucher, boy, he's all crossed up. He's not anywhere right.
Well, Dale Boucher looks like he's going to pull right back out into the pit area and let Jim Reese finish his course.
Now, that's sportsmanship, I'll tell you, because he could have actually turned that into a restart with only a couple of feet to go. But, boy, you can see the rear tires just broke loose. He spun around. Now, watch. I'm sure Reese looked over to see him sitting over there. Now, right about there is where he sees and locks up the brakes, sees that the rocket is blocking his lane, and Jim Reese will be automatically given an advancement into the next round. What a wild, wild round. Now, wait a minute. We've just received word that Rob Morris and 4-Wheel Crazy will not be able to return, and because he was #2 qualifier, Barefoot will get back in the program for the next round, Jerry. It's kind of appropriate that at this event, certainly the wildest monster truck race in the 16-year history of this class, that we would have the two machines that were the first ever built for this type of motorsports, Bigfoot and Barefoot. It's neat.
As well as the founders of indoor motorsports and the United States Hot Rod Association, Ed Thayer and Tony Vaccaro are here.
It's true. They were the people that brought this kind of sport to the masses from coast to coast across the United States and Canada. Here's a unique situation. Barefoot is back in the program because Rookie of the Year Rob Morris and the 4-Wheel Crazy could not return. He's against Jim Reese in the Eliminator. This has changed the whole deal.
Jim Reese, a strong competitor. And it looks like Jim Reese might have a problem here.
Yeah, definitely. And Fred Schaefer also having traction problems. In fact, Jim Reese was able to make up a lot of the time that he lost there. Look at Schaefer. He's really gone conservative here. And the Eliminator beats him.
Unbelievable.
Now, to see Fred Schaefer go from absolutely full throttle to that kind of conservatism, you have to wonder if this course isn't getting that tricky for the higher horsepower trucks. Look at Schaefer. He's not even that far in the air. And going into the turn, the same thing you brought up earlier about his conservatism costing him the race with Taurus. Looks like it's doing the same thing here. And Jim Reese has had nothing but transmission problems this weekend, yet he managed to get all the way around there, and you can see him very aggressive there in the final jump. The Eliminator goes to the final round. What an upset, but boy, that opens the door for Taurus and Jack Wilman again, Jerry.
It certainly does. Jim Reese, a strong competitor throughout the entire season. And he stays in the program. Well, here's Bigfoot, John Pyatt.
Jack Wilman has had the roughest road of anybody here at this event. First round, he takes on the points leader, Barefoot. Now, in order to win that $50,000 Camel World Championship, he's got to get past the best-known truck in the world.
You can see the concentration on Jack Wilman's face.
Hey, this is going to be just as much a war as any first-round battle we saw. They leave the line. Look at that. Probably the two best launches we've seen throughout the event. They go into the first turn. A lot of tire spin for Pyatt. He gets sideways.
Still even. Look at this. Dead heat.
Boy, they're dead even. Wilman getting real aggressive. Going way wide, though. Trying to straighten it out. Look out, look out. I don't believe my eyes.
Jeff Morgan in the center of the track. It looks like he might have gotten clipped.
I am almost positive that our starter, he's on his feet. He's obviously okay in the center of the mud pit, but you can see the crew's going out to see if he's all right. It certainly looked like he was actually run over by the Taurus Chevy of Jack Wilman. That's the scariest situation I've ever seen in this sport.
Unbelievable. Let's take a look at the replay now.
It almost looked like Taurus may have hit Bigfoot as well at the end of that course. The Christmas tree is totally destroyed. There you see Morton telling him to keep racing, telling him to get the track clear and bring out the next pair. That guy's got guts.
The bulb's all missing out of the tree. Here comes Taurus now.
All right, you see that rough landing. That may have caused Wilman to lose his bearings completely. That was rough enough to almost knock him out. He is under power. You can see him spinning the tires as he goes around the turn. Then the rear end comes around as the machine is definitely losing traction, but he gets right back in the throttle, and it just doesn't respond to the steering. He's got the wheels cranked, Jerry. Now watch, look at Morton running out of the way.
There's the bulbs flying out of the tree, and it looks like the tree itself, the metal part of the tree, hit Jeff Morgan in the back.
Let's look at it again. I can't tell if it's the rear tire of Taurus or the Christmas tree pole, as you said, that hits him in the back. I'm almost, boy, oh, that is just incredible. I'm almost inclined to believe that both of them hit him, Jerry. And then he comes over, Willman comes over, and it looks like tags Bigfoot. Payant saw him coming and actually got on the brakes, but John Payant is awarded the win, and Jeff Morgan, the U.S. Hobbit Association starter, Jerry, should get a medal for actions above and beyond the call of duty on that one.
Well, we have preliminary reports that Jeff is okay.
Yeah, he was back on his feet almost immediately, and he is going to apparently stay with us. The paramedics, as we've been watching the replay, have been checking him out, and they say he wants to stay. He looks okay to us, but what a wild, wild incident. There you see Bob Chandler, the owner and the man who created the monster truck phenomenon, with Bigfoot out of St. Louis, Missouri, waving to the crowd. He'll be in the final round.
Well, here's the finals in the monster trucks. Bigfoot, John Payant going to go against Jim Reese in the Ecology Eliminator.
You know, we had so many people say they came here to see Bigfoot win, but Jim Reese just might be the spoiler for the Chevy fans here in this final. We've already seen the World Championship wrapped up by Barefoot and Fred Shaver, but now we've got the event title to determine with the machine that started it all against one of the new young lions.
Well, the crowd here at the Rosemont Horizon will love this one because it's a Ford Chevy battle.
Bob Chandler, the creator of Bigfoot and monster trucks in general, for that matter, looking on. As we pointed out, the U.S. Hobbit Association officials, the hierarchy that brought indoor motorsports to the United States 16 years ago. Looking on at the finals of the wildest monster truck race ever run.
Jim Reese has to hold his truck together for just one more run. Here we go.
Uh-oh. It looks like Reese is in big trouble. Payant is coming around the first turn, and Reese can't even get over the cars. Jerry Bigfoot is going to win this one on a free ride.
Jim Reese having some unfortunate transmission problems that just faded away at the last moment.
Yeah, he survived that transmission problem for qualifying through 2 rounds of elimination. The transmission was falling in and out of gear in the first 2 rounds, and now there's not even enough fluid left in that transmission case to get the thing off the cars. And John Payant sitting in Bigfoot has got to be elated. He's just got to be thrilled.
Well, now it looks like Jim Reese has got steering problems on top of it.
Yeah, there was something radically wrong with that truck, and you can see the dejection. You just can imagine how Jim Reese feels coming all the way from Los Angeles to Chicago only to make it to the final and then have this happen. But I don't think the crowd is disappointed.
There's our winner, John Payant and Bigfoot. And the crowd loves it.
Well, John, you've got to be thrilled with this victory, but you have to admit the second round against Taurus was an extremely bizarre situation.
Yeah, it definitely was. You know, everyone involved is really lucky that everyone come out okay, and it's just one of the weird things that happened. It's the first time I've ever seen anything like that.
I should point out, though, that your driving all night long was right there with the best of them. You did have some of the quickest times throughout eliminations, and it looked like you were the one that was able to handle a very, very slippery track.
Yeah, I feel like I drove kind of poorly, actually, but just trying to be consistent and just keep the truck pointed in the right direction as it was a key for the win.
Well, after the first round, it was not a horsepower track, it was a driver's track, and you ended up being the driver, buddy.
All right, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, your winner tonight, the 1990 National Points Final, John Payant and Bigfoot. In one of the most bizarre sets of circumstances we have ever seen, in one of the most violent wars we have ever seen, there is finally a winner, and it is Fred Shaver in the Barefoot Chevrolet. And Fred, even you could not have possibly imagined that it would have gotten this weird.
I could never believe it would turn out like it turned out, really.
It just took a matter of luck when Rob Morris crashed to get you back in, and that wrapped it up.
That did it. When the fastest loser came back in my qualifying time, that's what wrapped it up.
Well, at the beginning of the event, you had said that if qualifying was going to play just as an important role as eliminations would, and you were right on.
I went for the fast qualifier, and I always do, and it paid off.
It sure did. And standing next to us, Jeff Hope and Elizabeth Williams, Miss Campbell again, bringing out your check. This one for $15,000, the largest winner's purse ever for a monster truck event or event series, and that has to make it worth it for you.
Thank you very much, Brett. It's been a long, hard battle. I'm glad it's finally over. Thank you.
In a point series in which the lead changed multiple
Here's the way the point standings finished up.
Although this may end the 1990 USHRA Association Camel World Championship Tour, obviously with the action we've seen here tonight, Jerry, 1991 is going to be insane.
Oh, it's going to be unbelievable. They're going to scream through the mud pit. You know, these drivers the technology is advancing every day, and these drivers are thinking of new ways of developing even more horsepower. Is it possible? We're going to find out in 1991.
It's going to be incredible. You can bet on wilder monster truck battles.
For almost 3 decades, it has been one of the nation's premier sports facilities, and it continues on into the 90s. The Astrodome in Houston, Texas, and once again, the world's best monster trucks have massed inside the Astrodome to go for one of the most prestigious victories on the U.S. Hot Rod Association circuit, the big trophy from the Astrodome. Hi again, everyone. I'm Scott Douglas. You can see former world champion Barefoot. There's another former world champion, Taurus. Bigfoot's here. It's a star-studded field ready to go in the Astrodome. We'll begin with the monster truck qualifying round. Now, these time trials will actually set the way we'll determine the brackets for the first round of side-by-side racing competition today. You get a look at Taurus, Granite City, Illinois, the home for Jack Willman's racing team, and the Taurus Chevrolet is on the clock. Into the turn. The turning course in the Astrodome always proves for some unique thrills. Here comes Taurus to the car. Outstanding run for Jack Willman and the Taurus Chevrolet. Let's go to the replay as Jack Willman made the turn in great shape. You can see on the brakes just enough to make the turn cleanly, but he didn't lose that much momentum. And Taurus comes over, rolls the hill, and the Chevy power takes over. Leaps and barely touches the last car. That is a beautiful run. Jack Willman, Taurus, 13.50. Let's see if anybody can get close to Taurus's time here in the Astrodome today on Super Tracks. Well, one of the big, bad Texas trucks that's here today, Paul Huffaker. Pablo Huffaker, they call him, just showing off the name of the Ford truck. Huffaker, a native Texan, would love to be able to upset the big names in the sport. Taurus, Barefoot, Bigfoot, and the like, right here in front of the home folks today. Into the turn. Let's see how Huffaker handles that turn. Good shape for Pablo Huffaker. Oh, he really hit the hill hard. Not a bad run at all, but that certainly cost him some time. As Huffaker hit that hill, watch how it knocks him straight up in the air. Here it comes. He's okay off the turn, but bang, he gets launched. The front wheels go straight up. That means a hard landing. He gets right back on it, though. It didn't lose that much time. Just showing off, almost went over sideways, brings her back down. The run is 15.75 seconds. All right, Pablo Huffaker brings out just showing off. Huffaker, a veteran of several years monster truck racing, one of the legends from the Texas area in the monster truck sport back in its early days. Huffaker now ready to try and take on one of the newer Texas trucks. This is Marty Garza and Overkill. Marty out of McAllen, Texas. Overkill builds a little bit of a lead into the turn. Boy, Huffaker having a big problem making the turn, a lot of bounce. Marty Garza and Overkill by about the length of a truck. Oh, Huffaker almost lost it at the end of the run, but shuts it down just in time. On the replay, you can see Huffaker was bouncing up and down, and that was all Marty Garza needed to put him away. Overkill will get a date with Taurus in the semifinal round. So Taurus, Overkill, and Barefoot are in the semifinal round. Who will join them? Will it be the legendary Bigfoot? Bigfoot comes in with one of the slower qualifying times, remember. Doug Spanier and Master of Disaster, actually the second best qualifying time so far today. Let's see if Master can back it up. Now as he has to look across the Astrodome and see that he's racing Andy Brass and Bigfoot. Foot's got a big lead early. Al Brass missed the turn. Bigfoot missed the turn. And Master of Disaster, who is not having a good run, will move into the semifinal if he can keep it from going on its route. Stunning upset right there. Bigfoot just locked him up and missed the turn. Andy Brass slides completely off the course. And the Master of Disaster records the upset in the Houston Astrodome. Put Doug Spanier in the semifinals and get a hook for Bigfoot. He's going on the trailer and heading back to St. Louis. The Barefoot Chevrolet, Fred Schaefer, former world champion from Pontoon Beach, Illinois. Or the upstart today, the Master of Disaster, Doug Spanier from Albany, Minnesota, the longtime monster truck veteran. These are two guys who have been through the wars. Let's see who's got what it takes in the dome. Master seems to have the edge into the turn. However, Barefoot's making a much better turn. Master swung very wide. Now the advantage belongs to Barefoot. And Fred Schaefer, oh, Master Disaster almost flipped it on its side at the end of the run. He pulls it back down, but it's too late. Barefoot has captured the victory. Watch the replay. Barefoot clearly takes control on the turn. Now watch Master of Disaster trying to make up some ground. He gets it really sideways, but pulls it back down. Barefoot and Taurus, the longtime rivals, the nemesis, the guys who have battled over the last couple of years for the World Championships. That, of course, is Taurus and Jack Willman against this former world champion, Fred Schaefer, and the Barefoot Chevrolet from Pontoon Beach, Illinois. This is what it's all about, the main event, the championship in the Houston Astrodome. All they need now is a green light. They're waiting for it. And it's showtime. Taurus with a slight edge to the turn, but Barefoot has made some great turns today. However, not this time. He missed the turn. Barefoot missed the turn, and Taurus can coast home. Taurus looks like he's lost power. Taurus lost power. What an incredible final. Taurus will win it, despite the fact that he stalled on the cars. I thought I'd seen everything watching monster truck racing, but this beats all. Two former world champions, and both of them make huge mistakes. First, it's Barefoot. Fred Schaefer just flat misses the turn. Watch as he cannot keep it in his lane. He skids off the turn and he can't get it straightened out. Taurus may have glanced at him, and Jack Willman got too much air, bounced down, and let his truck die. Any other time tonight or any other time just about anywhere, he would have been beaten. But Fred Schaefer was sitting dead in the water because he missed the turn. So Taurus is able to restart the engine, and despite probably being a little embarrassed, Jack Willman's going to take the big trophy all the way back to Granite City, Illinois. Incredible final run and a big smile. Jack Willman knows he got a big break on this day, but it's kind of justice because he had the best truck all day here on Super Tracks. And despite the strange final, Willman will take the win back to Granite City, Illinois. So Taurus defeats Barefoot in the final. Always the best motorsports action is yours every week right here on Super Tracks. I'm Scott Douglas. See you next week with the U.S. Hot Rod Association right here on Super Tracks.